Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, misery bots of all ages, back again with another video. This one's going to be a bit different than what I usually do. This time, I'm actually reacting to this podcast by MK REO or REO MK podcast, in which they're talking about like the failure of 2XKO. Now, for those who don't know, a couple weeks ago, I put out a video for 2XKO, basically saying that did it die, was it DOA? Did it die on arrival? Because like it was like 2 days after the game had like released or something like that, and there was just nobody talking about it. It was like no reviews on it or anything like that. So now I just find it like kind of funny that these people are kind of talking about the game. I'm just trying to see what's going on with 2KO. Right? Is this the video? Let me see. Ah, yeah, I think it is because I think I wrote like it was like dead or revival or something like that.
Girls misery by it launched yesterday, right? It launched
hmm
January 20th, 2026. We are now.
So definitely check out this video. I'll try to link it in the descriptions below. But basically, in this video, which I did 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I basically talk about like is 2XKO like dead on arrival, basically because like it was out for 2 days and there was like no reviews on it. Like nobody was really talking about this really big fighting game that had just launched. Typically, you get like reviews and a lot of people talking about it like right before the game even launches. But in this particular case with 2XKO, which was a free to play game, it was like days after before like reviews started to really come out. Like now, 2 weeks into it, we do got more and more people coming out talking about it. You got more reviews and stuff about it. There's more of a spotlight on it. It did already have some tournaments and stuff like that, but up until that point, like nobody was talking about it. And now the game's only been out like 2 weeks or so, a little more than 2 weeks, and it's already getting like negative publicity. Basically, they basically laid off like half their crew or whatever. So I'm just curious to see what like Rio and Tom and the other guy, I forget his name, Dave, I think it is, talk about it, because I respect these guys. They're in the MK community, and they've been in the MK community and the fighting game community for a very long time. So I am curious to know what their opinions on and their aspects and views on what's going on with this whole 2XKO situation. So let's sit back, let's chill, let's listen to it, and I'll also put my 2 cents as they talk too.
It was supposed to be this massive big game with a lot of people working on it, huge production, like what they've been working on for like almost 10 years straight. And it seems like now they announced that they're going to be reducing the support by a ton to move on to possibly something else. What do you guys think about it?
Tom, go ahead.
Okay. So give me just 5 minutes on this, Dave, because there's a few things. It's not about do FGCs work or do fighting games work
I'm about to go off. This dude said, "Give me 5 minutes to break this down
or not work." So a couple of things. For one, just so you understand what happened, 2XKO just had it's only been out for about a month officially, and it just had its coming out party tournament 8 days before they made this
Not even
so
a month. It's been out like
February
2-3 weeks.
was the final day of their Frosty Faustings, and on February 9th, this announcement came out. So 8 days after they just did that $50,000 payout, to which first place gets 20 grand, and even 17th got $150. And it's not much, but for the FGC, for someone that low to even get $1 is impossible. It's unheard of. It doesn't happen. So when they made the announcement, which let me just ballpark it, they cut their development team from 180 to 60. So they cut it by half or whatever it was. I don't even think that's half. From 120 to 60. My mistake. I'm stupid. Math. It's late, guys. At least for me, I'm old.
Not everybody can
So
do
they cut
math,
it by
Tom. Not everybody.
50%, which is pretty drastic. And the long story is they just didn't get enough support, basically monetary. I don't know where they thought the game was going to be. It is a free-to-play game. And keep in mind, when you have a game that, as many people have been saying, what did they expect? They released it, quote-unquote, bare bones.
He brings up a good point. Like 2XKO is a free-to-play fighting game. Like I don't when's the last free-to-play fighting game we actually got? Like true type fighting game? Because I know we got, I think it was like Multiverses or something like that. It was one of those like Brawlhalla as well too. So we've gotten like fighting games that were free to play, but they were more along the lines of like a Smash Brothers and stuff like that, where 2XKO is more of a versus type fighting game. And I don't know if we've ever gotten like a versus type fighting game for free. Now, I will say one of the downfalls, in my opinion, or one of the things that could be better that can help the 2XKO game is if they put it on Steam. Because as of right now, 2XKO is not on Steam. You have to have the Riot launcher, and not everybody have the Riot launcher, and not everybody wants to download the Riot launcher. Granted, it's not much, like you don't have to pay or anything for it, but some people just don't want to do that. They just want to do everything from Steam. On top of that, like it does make it easier. If they were to put it on Steam, it wouldn't make it easier to play it on like your Steam Deck and the upcoming Steam machine if they were just to put it on Steam. So I do think that Riot should consider putting 2XKO on Steam and even Epic Store, just anywhere you can get it. And is this game even on Nintendo Switch? Like if it's not on Nintendo Switch, it needs to make its way to Nintendo Switch too. So
I don't know how bare bones it actually is. I never played it with only 11 characters.
it is pretty
What did they
bare
expect was
bones.
going to happen? Well, that's all the more reason why you would think they would still keep that development team, because of all the content that people are expecting
Yep.
would be added if the game truly is 11 characters, quote unquote, bare bones, whatever.
I don't even think
One
it's
thing to
11. I think
really,
it's like 10, and you can only play
notice
like
also
7.
is that, again, it is a free-to-play game. We've seen this model before with Multiverses. That tanked extremely quickly, and now, literally 1 month after the game's official launch, and 8 days after.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, he said Multiverses tanked very quickly. If I recall correctly, it was like a really big success at when it first came out, when I think it was still in beta. But then when they like took it down and then they re-released it and gave it like an official launch or something like that, I think at that point it like just died. It just died
the
horribly.
official coming out party, they have just pretty much, cut their dev team in half, basically saying it's not bringing in enough money to really justify keeping on a team of that size. What this really shows is that, for one, people don't really realize just how small the FGC is. And I'm not trying to say 2XKO has failed or it's over, but just in the free-to-play model, as Dave said on a conversation the other day, you have to look at the demographic you're advertising to. So you're looking at fighting game players. So let me tell you the difference between fighting games and maybe another genre. Let's take ARPGs. If you're targeting an ARPG, you're pretty much targeting all ARPG players. I'm going to bring some big content creators: Al Kaiser,
ARPG.
Rexanterex, Kriparian. All these guys, they'll play Diablo, PoE, Last Epoch.
I actually don't know
They've had their days on WoW,
what he's talking about. What's
which
an
is just an
ARPG?
But when you target one, you're pretty much targeting everyone in that genre. And that genre, or most genres, are considerably bigger than the FGC.
I mean, I would assume that that's the same thing with the fighting game.
Community divided into other small niche communities. So when you release a game to the FGC, you're
Yes
not
and no.
releasing it
Yes
for
and
the
no.
greater FGC. You're releasing it for
So when he says that the FGC is a smaller niche community that's divided into other smaller communities and stuff like that, yes and no. Yes and no. So like the fighting game community is relatively small compared to maybe like a first-person shooter genre or something like that. But it's still not a small community. I mean, like, for example, Mortal Kombat 11 has sold over 20 million units. Like, Street Fighter 5 sold over 10 million. Tekken 7 sold over 10 million. Dragon Ball Fighter sold over 10 million. You know, Smash Brothers is over, 30 million or something like that. So there are, over, 10 million potential fighting game players and stuff like that. Now, granted, some of that is people are cross purchasing and stuff like that, because I know I have like both Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. I tend to buy both of those games. But when he said it's broken down to other communities, is yes, you have the fighting game genre, but within there you do have party games like Smash Brothers. You have the 3D games like Virtual Fighter, DOA, and Tekken. You have the 2v the regular 1v1 games like your Mortal Kombat and your Street Fighters. You have your tag based or assist based games like your MK1, your Marvel vs. Capcom, your 2XKO and stuff like that. So within that genre that, like he said, isn't the biggest genre, but relative to some of the other genres in games, it does break it up. And it's hard to encompass all of that stuff into one game. Like, how do you appease somebody that likes the party-esque aspects of like a Smash Brothers or a Brawlhalla or something like that? How do you appease people who like the 1v1 fighting of like Mortal Kombat 11 or Street Fighter 6? How do you appease people that like the tag-based fighting like the Dragon Ball Fighters and stuff like that? So how do you do that? I mean, I think Mortal Kombat 1 tried to do that and appease to like the Mortal Kombat people who like the 1v1 and also the people who like the tag-based type fighting games by adding an assist-based type fighting game, some sort of middle ground or whatever. But that ended up being like an epic fail, in my opinion.
A very small part of the FGC.
Not an epic fail, but
Mortal
a fail.
Kombat and Street
A
Fighter
relative fail.
represent the vast majority of the FGC.
Because MK1 still sold better than most fighting games.
Name. And you have 6 million, basically they both sold around 6.2, 6.5 million. So around 13 million over multiple years between those two titles. And that's the largest share of the whole FGC. That's not a lot of people. So you got to realize just how small the FGC is.
It's not really the largest share of the FGC. Like I said, Smash Brothers sold like 30 million and Mortal Kombat 11 sitting at about 20 million.
So when you're releasing a game to the FGC, you're releasing to a very, very, very small number of people in the overall gaming sense. And if that number, only a very small number of people are actually going to pick up that game. Because 2XKO, is like every fighting game, is going to be niche. It's not going to have the following of Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Those two are juggernauts as far as sales.
I mean, Tekken does pretty good as well as Dragon Ball and Naruto. It's going to
be more of like a Guilty Gear type of follow.
And that's the other thing. The Naruto type games too are a different type of fighting game.
Doesn't mean that so many people are actually going to be putting money into it. So overall, it's good. It's a very niche part of the FGC that's going to take it seriously. Let's just even highball it and say of the entire FGC, 2XKO will appeal to 60% of people in the whole FGC. And 60%, while it's not a lot of people, it's a large percentage of the FGC. Of that 60%, let's just say there's probably 15% that download it for free and say, well, it's just not for me. I'm not going to spend my money on it. I tried it. It was okay. So, but that's still, but Tom, they grabbed 45% of the FGC. That's still a large number. Of that 45%, let's say that half of that number is actually going to be willing to spend money on it. So now you got like 20-something% of the FGC that's willing to spend money. So you got a small portion of a small portion of a small portion of people to get into the game seriously and are willing to spend money. And that's your business model on how to be profitable. Meanwhile, you're paying out $50,000 on your 1 month in, and you plan on paying out considerably more. And what's crazy is for years, and Dave, I know you've heard this, about 10 years, maybe a little less than 10 years, all I heard was Riot has cracked the code. There's going to be a League of Legends fighting.
I see where he's going with that. Like, because if you look at other genres, like the shooting game genre or whatever, you have something like Fortnite or Apex Legend, and which there's so many people that play those games, but it's actually a small percent of people that actually spend money. But because the pool of people that are playing those type of games, you're talking anywhere upwards of 20, 30, 40, 50 million people that are playing those games. Even if you only have like 5-10 million people spending money on that, that's enough to kind of sustain you and stuff like that. And that's what he's getting at. Whereas because the FGC, the fighting game community, is relatively smaller to like the shooting game genre, even though this model is how it works, where you tend to get a lot more people playing the game and a small amount of people actually investing their money into the game, that pool of people that's going to invest their money into the game tends to be a lot smaller because the community itself is relatively smaller compared to other communities, such as like the shooting game community or something like that.
Game and it's going to change everything in the FGC. There's going
Or even like the MMO community too, because I think you have, was Final Fantasy 14 free? I believe. I think it was free at one point. But that has so many people playing it right now. Same thing with Warframe and Warframe, but Warframe I think is, I don't know. I get what he's going though. I get where he's going. I'm picking up what he's putting down.
Legends, FGC is everything's gonna change, and we see that's not the case. The FGC, the reason why there's no money to get out of the FGC because there's no money that the FGC puts
Like
into
and subscribe,
itself.
like and subscribe. This is live,
one of
bro.
the
This is
smallest,
live.
if not the
Feel
smallest
free to leave
scene,
some
and
comments
it's
too.
also probably the most impoverished scene, and I don't mean that as a dig. The fighting games have a considerably more younger crowd than most other games, which by default means they're going to have less access to funds. And so in general, it was just snakebit from the start. And that model just can't possibly work in fighting games. It's not that fighting games, even if 2XKO came out and they said, okay, we're going to charge you $60 for the game, and then you're going to have, microtransactions, etc. It would sell what at most maybe 3-4 million over the first couple of years. I mean, and again, I want you to really understand, other games sell like 25 million within the first day to first week, like some bigger games. If you took Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, that's 13 million over the last 2 to 3 years. That's a very small number of people. And
I see where Tom's going with that, because like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter are, amongst the biggest fighting games. He's neglecting Tekken, Tekken 8, which has also sold very well. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say Tekken 8 is sitting at like 5 million. Like Tekken 8 is up there with Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat 1. You also got to take into account people are still buying the older games. Like people are still going back and buying like Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 11, particularly Mortal Kombat 11. I did a video just a week ago where I was stating like, Mortal Kombat 11 has sold over 20 million units and stuff like that. And that's because like, I want to say it's the Elder God bundle. You have like a lot of people, buying like older fighting games and stuff like that. So yeah, I get it. Like Street Fighter and MK are like the two titans or whatever, but he is kind of neglecting Tekken, which is also a titan. It's the biggest like 3D fighting game and stuff like that, as well as just some of the other smaller fighting games too, and older fighting games too, because we also had like the Mortal Kombat collection. Granted, was it the Mortal Kombat collection? No, Mortal Kombat Legacy collection, which granted, that most likely flopped. But we also had other stuff like the Fatal Fury game, City of the Wolves. You also had the Street Fighter Capcom collection. You still have like Smash Brothers on the Nintendo Switch, which all that stuff is still selling very much. So obviously it's a way bigger pool. It's way bigger than just like the 6 million each for Mortal Kombat 1 and Street Fighter. It's just other people they're buying other games. Like I myself just recently bought like Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Boruto versus Boruto or something, Boruto Connections. Like I recently just bought that, and that game came out like 3 years ago.
That's the 2 largest FGC share.
Yo, what up, Zal Seed? Like Zal Seed, just give me the heads up. Basically, I'm just watching this podcast, listening to this podcast with like people who are in the Mortal Kombat community, and they're talking about the fighting game that I've been playing lately, the 2XKO. They just laid off like half their staff, and supposedly they're not really doing very well financially. I'm just giving you the rundown of what's going on right now. And you got people like, MK Tom Brady, REO and stuff like that. You may have heard of these people. They've been in the tournament scene for Mortal Kombat for decades now. And they've just given their 2 cents of what they believe is going on with 2XKO. And it says also concerning for Mortal Kombat's future, so they're probably also going to talk about like the future of Mortal Kombat. And I'm basically just kind of adding my 2 cents as they talk and give my opinion on what I think is happening. So, but what up, Zal? See what you up to, man? You at work?
Games in the FGC, that's still only 13 million. And how many people of, let's say all those people downloaded it for free, how many of those are actually going to pay? The FGC is just a small number. And it takes fighting games multiple games over multiple years to do what most games do in a single day of sales. So just the numbers.
Yeah, 2XKO's laid off like half their staff. Supposedly, I want to say they were probably like around 140, 160. They laid off like half their staff, so now they're under 100 people. And the game's only been out like 2-3 weeks. So people are basically saying, yeah, the game's probably not doing very well financially. You also have to take into account that the game is free to play. Like it's not, you don't have to pay to play that game. It's just free to play. You can download it and just play it right now. Like it's free to play. Yeah, I'm working, and then I'm doing OT until 7 or 11 p.m. Well, I actually got to work tonight too, so I'll probably be going into work around the time you're getting off. So I won't even be able to play you in no Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm.
And like when a new game like this is coming out and you try it, usually you ask yourself, well, what is this game going to offer me? Like, what does 2XKO play? Like, what's the meta like? Is it just doing 50-50s and big combos and mix-ups? Because if that's the case, I already get that out of the Mortal Kombat games I'm playing. You know, like I don't need to go play another fighting game to deal with the same meta stuff.
Like,
Because I don't have any attachment to any of the leaks.
in terms of like mix-ups and 50-50, I don't come across a lot of that in 2XKO, with the exception of the Warwick, the Wolf dude. He's the only one that really has like crazy 50-50, and it's not even that crazy either.
You know, they're like, there's no reason really to branch out to that. But aside from that, I mean, the game launching, I heard it only launched for like 10 characters, and then some of them are locked by you have to grind for them. That's also a turnoff. You can't have fighting games these days coming out with only 10 characters. People are going to be bored out of their mind after like a month of playing the same character. So that already was a bad recipe. And the whole free-to-play thing is weird. It seems like they're kind of doing what worked for League of Legends, which is a whole different video game genre with MOBA, and trying to include it into a fighting game, but we don't really play fighting games.
I do agree that they probably should have launched the game with more characters. Like,
that's not really what we like.
it has like, I don't remember how many characters, like 10 characters, but even with the 10 characters, you can only play like 6 or 7 characters. You can't even play all 10. You got to unlock them first or pay for them.
Is it really expensive? $30 for a skin pack?
Yeah, that's what people are saying. Yeah.
Some of those skin
See,
packs
stuff
are
like that,
pretty
they're not
expensive.
monetizing it. I mean, I understand why they're trying to monetize it, right? It's a free game. But when the content isn't really there because the game is free, and then they have to make it up by doing stuff like that, that's already a bad sign. I think this game is just destined to fail the way it is. You don't come to the FTC, that's already, like Tom said, it's very minimal. We already are fractured between different games that we want to play, because fighting games aren't like first-person shooter games. If you're good at a first-person shooter game, more often than not, when you go to play another first-person shooter, you have good aim, because most first-person shooter games have that intact, where you're aiming, you know how to aim, you know how to point, you know how to click, so you'll be able to transfer easier. In fighting games, it's different. In some of these fighting games, you'll be able to anti-air, and other ones, they don't function properly, or in these fighting games, the way that the neutral and the moves work, like everything is just completely different from one another. So that, in a way, with how the nature of fighting games are created so differently from each other, that almost makes it so it's harder for fighting games to grow off of each other, because they play so differently. Usually people specialize in certain fighting games. But yeah, it's really sad to see that.
And that's basically what Tom was saying, is within the fighting game community, it's smaller communities. So like, if you're good in like Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm, that don't mean you're going to be good in like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. If you're good in Street Fighter, that don't mean you're going to be good in Mortal Kombat, and vice versa. If you're good in Mortal Kombat, doesn't mean you're going to be good in Street Fighter. And if you're good in either of those games, you still may not be good in like Tekken, because those are all different games. That means you may not be good in like Dragon Ball FighterZ or Marvel vs. Capcom. There's just, and if you're good in all of those games, right? Let's say you're good with Naruto, Tekken, Dead or Alive, Street Fighter, Virtual Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Marvel vs. Capcom. Let's say you're good in all of that. You might still be trash in Smash Brothers or Brawlhalla's or Multiverses, because those are like they're all fighting games, and they're all within the fighting game community, but they're so different from each other that your skills that you take doesn't necessarily carry over. It's not like shooting games, like first-person shooting games. If you have good aim in like COD or whatever, you're probably going to have good aim in like Battlefield or Titanfall or Apex Legends. So, and that's what he's getting at, and that's actually what MK Tom was actually talking about too.
The game has been in open beta for what now, a couple months, and they're already pulling the plug and just heavily reducing what they're going to be putting in the game in terms of as effort going forward.
Yeah, and real quick, Dave, what Rio said is so. That's why I brought up ARPGs, and Rio brings up shooters. They're, someone's going to say they're not all identical, and they're not. but they share a similarity, like
Mhm.
aiming. If you
Exactly.
have that skill set, it transfers to fighting games. Skill sets don't transfer from one character to the next sometimes, let alone.
Yeah, not only that too, like in a shooting game, a lot of the times the buttons are exactly the same. You already know like your R2 is gonna be to shoot, your L2 is to aim and stuff like that. You might have to reload with like the square or the X button. So like the buttons tend to be the same. Where in fighting games, that's the buttons could be completely different.
Again, to use that microtransact, I know they have to make money, but again, they're using the microtransaction model, and the FGC also is not a big microtransaction community. If you give the FGC a game for free, they're going to play it for free, and they're not going to buy nothing in the game. So, I'm still really surprised at their decision.
Absolutely. I literally have Tom and you and I were discussing this.
I don't think 2xKO is instantly DOA. It may be able to save it if they change things. Releasing with less than 12 to 16 characters for any fighting game is not a great sign for me. No, and I agree. Like I think it only launched with like maybe 10 characters, but even within that 10 characters, there are characters that are locked. So you either have to unlock them by playing the game, and it's like a good 4 characters, at least 4 characters that are locked. So you only really have access to like 6, 7 characters. So you would either have to play the game and unlock get the currency in order to unlock certain characters, or you just gotta pay for it because you can actually pay to unlock certain characters, which I'm thinking about doing because Jinx from Arcane, the crazy chick that blows shit up in the Arcane show, she's in the game, but she's actually one of the ones that was locked. If I'm not mistaken, Vi, the one with the one that I use with the arms and stuff like that, she was also locked. I had to unlock her, but I think I had earned like a token in order to unlock her.
I don't know, a 25-year-old, the insinuation is that he or she probably, graduated college maybe, or, they kind of found their way after high school. At least, I know this is more like of an American perspective, but the point is, those people probably have some money, right? Like, and they have some money to spend. They call like what do they call? I think disposable income, right? Which essentially means
they mostly use 3 to 5 characters in a fighting game, so having 10 characters isn't bad. It just looks bad because we as gamers spoiled with excess. Yes and no though, Zal, because like granted, let's say 10 characters, and like I said, out of the 10, you can only really use like 6 or 7 of them because the others are locked. What if the 6 or 7 characters that are in the game are characters you don't like? Like you don't like let's say for example, Street Fighter, right? You like playing Street Fighter, you like Blanca in Street Fighter. What if Street Fighter had launched with no Blanca in the game? Now and no Ryu. Now you're looking for a character to play and you don't like the characters that are there. And because this has like a smaller options, then you may not like the characters to play with. Like for example, like I don't think is there a grappler? There might be one grappler. But like if you're somebody that likes to play grapplers in fighting games, and then you play a game like 2xKO where you only have access to like 6 characters, and let's say none of them are grapplers, well then you're gonna struggle because you prefer to play a grappler in the game and there's no grapplers as an option. Meant to say mostly used. Yeah, I figured.
Like, who cares? What you have to do, you have to always, advertise or promote the game to a larger audience, and that's what MK has done, and that's always the right thing to do. And this is not necessarily a criticism of Rio, but like fighting games having no execution. Yet Tom in one of the episode said, "Well, I can't play this. Like this will be a full-time job." Like, yes, of course it would be, and it's not worth it. Why would you? Like, it takes too much to learn all the matchups, to learn, like especially when if you haven't played for a while. So I think you should always, from now, never listen to the FGC ever. They're never going to be happy anyway, even if
experience
you do.
also, Dave.
Real quick, Rusty Spark says, "What's up, Tom?"
Hey, what's up, Rusty? So I play ARPGs. So right now, if I were to load up my last eProd profile, I probably have the best geared Judgment Paladin like on planet Earth, like in season 3 anyway. Now I have no time to play fighting games, right? But guess what? I bought all the cosmetics. I bought all the supporter packs.
That's kind of where I'm at. Like I don't have as much time to play games, period. And the sheer amount of fighting games that I want to play Street Fighter, I want to play Mortal Kombat, I want to play 2XKO, I want to play Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storms, I want to play Dead or Alive, but I don't have the time to invest in any of these games to get like really good. With the exception of something like Mortal Kombat, but I've been playing that for years, and same as Street Fighter, I've been playing that for years at this point.
Games anymore. Why? Because they're just too time consuming.
So I agree with him.
The model works for other games.
He said he doesn't play fighting games anymore because it's too time consuming.
And guess what? At the highest possible, I guess, quote unquote level, this is pretty well geared. Most casuals are not going to have a character this well put together. And I was able to do it at my own pace over time, so on and so forth. Fighting games just this is why they appeal to more of a younger audience. And something else also, the FGC is a lot like, so how do I say this without being offensive to another demographic in sports? But basically, they don't even really support their own. Let me give you an example. The FGC is full of stories of opportunity that doesn't go anywhere. There's tons of stories of whether it's the free-to-play model. You can go back to Multiverses that tried this. Multiverses actually got covered by massive content creators who don't even play fighting games.
Yep,
because
that's true.
they're doing something that fighting games don't normally do, and we saw how that went. And this is going the same route. And those were actually more popular characters like Superman, Batman, etc. You know,
I think they had LeBron James in that joint.
Popular. I'm not trying to,
they had Scooby Doo, Shaggy.
So whether it's that example or whether how many pro leagues have tried to get money out of the FGC, they all crumble. Or how many sponsors with people with millions of dollars of backing leave because they can't get any money out of the FGC. Or back in the old days before streaming services, where they would try to televise a few fighting game events. And back then when they were televised, you know, it goes off of these stations make money off ad revenue. So however well the show rates is how much they can charge for ad time. Spoiler, fighting games rated in the bottom, not because nobody cares, but just because there's just not enough. There's not enough people to have ratings be high. There's not enough people for a sponsor or a pro league to be profitable or draw money out of the FGC. There's just not enough people because it's a sub community of a sub community of a sub community, and that's for that game. And they don't cross over. They don't watch this game when they play that game. They don't put money in this game when they play it. They don't cross over. Even for streaming, same thing. They don't cross over. And what you have to understand,
he's spitting right now. He's spitting right now because he's absolutely right. Like, I don't typically play Tekken, so like I don't typically watch Tekken streams, nor do I buy the Tekken game or play the Tekken game. Same thing with so many other games. Like, I don't typically play Smash Brothers, so I don't watch Smash Brothers tournaments and or buy the Smash Brothers games or cosmetics or anything like that. So he has a point. He does have a point. But at the same time, I mean, it's also the same way with other games too. Like, not everybody watches like a Call of Duty tournament or a Battlefield tournament and stuff like that, even though they all play first-person shooting games.
FGC, for one, you're going to have the smallest turnouts with the smallest payouts with the lowest amount of exposure. If you then go to Twitch and YouTube, you're going to have the smallest demographic of just bodies of people watching you. It's just going to be small. There's a channel that has always been really small called Action RPG. You might know him, Aaron. I've watched him since the very beginning when he only had like 5,000 and 10,000. You know, he used to say, you know, subscribe to support smaller channels. And even view-wise, he does okay, but the viewerships are not like, you know, 100,000 views per video. He's got over 100,000 views when Last Epoch came out, because not that he was like a massive channel, but because just how many bodies buy games like this. It's not hard to blow up a YouTube channel. In the FGC, it's very difficult because there's just not enough people watching. So if you're a young, talented player, why would you say, I'm going to come to the smallest scene,
I mean, me being, you know, streaming fighting games and stuff like that, I can kind of concur as well. It has been difficult to grow the channel, but part of that's on me because I don't have the consistency as some other people. There have been people who have seen a lot of success streaming fighting games. I mean, you have people like your Lose Streaks, your Losty Girls, your Honeybees, your I'm blanking on some other people's name, but you have people who've done very well streaming fighting games. So, but I will say it is difficult because there is a lot less people that tend to be interested in watching fighting games over something like a Battlefield or a shooting game.
Why come here? There's no reason for it.
Yeah, and even the people who has grown their channels, they've grown their channels over the course of like years. It's not like overnight sensation type things. Most of them were not overnight sensations. They were people who've been streaming and putting out fighting game content for years. You do have like your Rufamangas, you do have your true underdogs, you do have your Maximilians, which have a lot of people, who have like a lot of people and a lot of subscribers and stuff like that. But again, that was something they developed over the course of years.
No, yeah, I understand that, but I think fair enough. But like, I think all of us, the way we became friends is not because we were gonna play MK9 and make all this money, or Tom even obviously you had been there before us. Like we just played it, and honestly, I like the fact that the FGC is small. It's kind of like my way, to escape reality, hang out with a couple of friends. I'm kind of the opposite most people want. I don't want the attention most of the time. I want to like hang out with a couple of friends, maybe not be myself, kind of escape reality. That's the reason why I initially started playing, be this kind of jerk in the FGC because I like to zone. Most people hate that. It's kind of, again, my escape of reality. I think that's a good thing. But I understand it's a recent phenomenon. Like Tom was saying, try to make money off of YouTube, expand your audience, like stuff like I have never cared about that. I really, I mean, I want to have an influence, but not to the extent that I'm gonna make money. I already have a good job. I don't need, I mean, it would be nice to get more, but it's just like to me, it's superfluous. Like it's not really that necessary. Maria, go ahead and jump in. How do you like? What's your take?
Let me ask you guys: why do you guys feel the FGC isn't big, or fighting games in general? Is it because people don't resonate with the fighting games as much? Is it because they're not seen as in a high regard, regarding skill?
People don't like fighting games.
Ooh, that's a good question. I am curious to know what their answer is to it, because it's like, why? Like fighting games has been around for decades now. Like Street Fighter 1 came out in the 80s. Like Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat has been out since like the early 90s. I'm talking about 91, 92 type stuff. So like, in fact, fighting games has been out longer than some of the genres that are out now that are bigger than the fighting game community. Like the whole battle royale community is relatively new compared to like the fighting games that are out. Some of these RPGs that are out are relatively new compared to the fighting game community, like the MMOs and stuff like that. They're relatively new compared to like the fighting game community, which has been around for 30, 40 years now. So I that is a good question as to why do you think after all these years, all these decades, all these different fighting games, because there's so many different fighting games, from your Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, your Tekkens, your Virtual Fighters, your Dead or Alive, your Killer Instincts, your Dragon Ball Z's, your Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storms, your Smash Brothers. Like there are so many different fighting games. Your Marvel vs. Capcom. Like there are so many, and there's so many that's coming out too. You have the 2XKO, you have the Invincible Versus, you have the Marvel Tokon game, you have like the X-Men Mutant Academy. There was so many different Darkstalkers. There's so many different fighting games that are out that appeals to such a wide range of people. But yet the fighting game community, which has been out for as long as it is I'm not going to say small, because I don't think this fighting game community is small, but it's relatively small to so many of the other genres, like the first person shooter. Like the fighting games have been out before first person shooters, I want to say, or around the time the first person shooters. When did Doom come out? I want to say fighting games was out before Doom. I don't remember, but it's been around for a long time. But it's just one of those genre of gaming that like not a lot of people get into.
They're not fun. They're not fun. They're
And
not
see,
fun for
that's,
most
that's
people.
an interesting point to
Losing
bring up,
sucks.
Tom, because you know what's
People
crazy.
Why are
don't
they not
like
fun?
losing.
Dude, no, that's an interesting point to give up. What you just said, people don't
Losing
find
sucks.
fighting
People
games
don't
fun. When you think about it, like I have a couple friends I talk to sometimes. They're not into fighting, and sometimes I ask them like, "Why do you guys not like fighting games?" They're like, "They're just bad. They're spammy. They're just like they just don't like that." And it's weird how fighting games have this perception of being like an easy mash, do stuff, being annoying type of game, whereas other games like whether it's a MOBA or a first-person shooter, whatever the current popular genre is, they're not seen as that. They're considered games that have a lot of skill. They're very consistent. Like it's worth playing because it's. But fighting games aren't seen in that way. Fighting games are just seen as these like scrubby, mashy games, and it's kind of crazy. Even in the
I agree with you, Val. Like fighting games is never going to die. It's never gonna die. There's too many options and there's too many fan favorite fighting games out there.
A button on knockdown, or they beat you, or the armor. So even the casuals who don't even play fighting games seriously don't like that aspect. But us who do play these games seriously, that's still a form of that in the game. So it's almost like fighting games just have this negative perception around it that turns a lot of people off. Like they just don't take the game seriously. They don't like them. They think they're mashy, and because of that, they can't really grow when most people just treat them as a joke.
Well, let me give you a couple of examples. For one, Dave brings up a great example when he talks about casual players who say, "Oh, this, that, MK9." Dave's like, "Huh, yeah, so fun. Why don't you come play my Freddy? I'll come out of retirement and take it seriously and tell me how much fun you have." And he's not wrong. While I may sit there and go through the fire of losing until I got it right, or how many times I've played Rio and I've struggled against Cabal while I was learning, right? Most people are not going to do that. Most people, losing sucks for most people. It takes something special to lose.
See, he says that like losing sucks, and yes, losing does suck. Nobody wants to lose, but people lose in those shooting games too. Like if you're playing Call of Duty, you're not gonna win every game. Sometimes you might carry a team and still lose, and that can be more frustrating than playing a fighting game. Because in a fighting game, especially if it's 1v1, if you lose, you know you lost because you lost. That person was better than you for the most part, unless it was like a lag or bullshit, something crazy like that. But for the most part, if you lose in a fighting game, you know that was all on you. In these shooting games, dude, like you can be carrying somebody and still lose and be pissed off at your team. Or you can be playing against a team and just getting completely smoked and being the reason that your team is losing. Or you can just be, all can be doing pretty good and still lose. So like in these shooting games, you can still lose. And don't let me get into the Battle Royale games. These Battle Royale games, you're gonna lose 90% of the time, bro. Like when you're playing Apex Legends or Fortnite or something like that, like, yes, you're having a good time. You're having a good time losing. You're having a good time losing because 90% of the time, you're gonna be losing in those Battle Royales. Man, like if you, oh my God, I wish I can look at the stats on Apex Legends to see how many games I've actually won and how many games I've actually played in Apex Legends, dude. I might have won, if I played 1,000 games, I might have only won like 10 games, which means the other 990 games that I've played that I was enjoying myself for the most part, there have been a few losses that was extremely frustrating, were games that I was losing and having a good time doing so. Whereas in a fighting game, if I'm gonna lose, at least I'm losing because I know it's on me and then there is a road for me to improve. No one wins every game, and if they do, then I'm sure they get bored at some point if no one gives them real competition. 99% losses. Yes, it's 99% losses when it comes to those Battle Royale games, bro.
And
It's
that's
like
what fighting games are.
It's like 99% losses. When you think of those Battle Royale games, you're going to lose the majority of the time. You play like Call of Duty, the Warzone joint. When we play Call of Duty Warzone or the Battlefield joint, dude, I don't even think we've won in Battlefield. What up, Fat Cats? What up, Sin? Collapse? Like, I don't think we've ever even won in the Battlefield game. And I don't know how many games, we've probably played like 50 games of that Battlefield, what is it, Red Sec or whatever. Have not won a Warzone game at all in that joint. Still having a good time in it though. We still be having fun in it. Same thing with Warzone. Like when you play Warzone, you're losing the majority of the time in Warzone. Like out of 10 games, you'll be lucky if you win 2. You'll be lucky if you win 2. And it could still be frustrating too. Like if you're going like on a crazy losing streak, which you're gonna go on crazy losing streaks on these battle royale games, it could be frustrating, but people still play it, which is weird when you think of like people don't play fighting games because they lose a lot. Well, you lose a lot in these battle royale games. You know what I mean? Like the only games that you might get 50% is if you're playing like a Call of Duty or something like that, and you're just playing like the versus mode. That you might be closer to like 50-50. And some of that is because you might get a good team that carries you. Battlefield is fucking hard. Yes, Battlefield is absolutely hard. But basically the what we were just talking about is they mention, now I'm watching a stream full of like fighting game people, particularly Mortal Kombat fighting game people, and they're talking about like the failure of 2XKO and the fighting game community and stuff like that. And one of the questions was, why do you think more people don't play fighting games? And basically what they were saying is because, you know, people tend to lose a lot in fighting games. And my thing is, like, if you think of like some of the biggest genres that are out right now, like the battle royale genre, you're losing 99% of the time in those battle royale genres, and people are still having a good time. So if that's the case, why aren't they giving a chance to like the fighting games? Zalseed says, did you watch the Warzone vid I sent last week with me and my bro and Rich? Got the win. Okay. The level of excitement and screaming we did after that win, that's the joy of winning 1 out of 100 games. That's true. That's true. But there is a joy when you're playing a fighting game when you're going against somebody that is extremely difficult. Like how many times me and you have played Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm, the Boruto joint, and you beat me by the skin of your teeth? Is that not exciting? Is that not joyful? There's been a couple times I freaking screamed or just took like a gas of air or something like that when I like screeched out a win. In fact, there was a couple times where like I killed you, not realizing I killed you, and then I realized, oh shit, I just won, and I'd be like, oh yes, let's go, and I just get hyped. Like I get hyped. Like you can get that same excitement playing a fighting game as well, and it's even more rewarding because you're doing it by yourself in a fighting game. You're not being carried by somebody else or being helped by anybody else. So it's actually more rewarding when you do get those really tough wins against really tough opponents in a fighting game.
And that's not fun for most people. It's not. That's just the truth.
What
And
about
there's
the
barely any
argument
modes
that
in fighting games too.
former?
It says it's barely any modes.
Yeah, let me just
Sorry,
say this
go
real
ahead,
quick. This is not even my argument. I just want to present it. Yeah, Crimson Shadow made a post saying that essentially the FGC is kind of quote unquote waiting for a savior game, and every time they think there's going to be a savior game, you know, there's disappointment, there's disillusionment, you know, for that game. Like, you know, people. It is true. He's right. You know, when people were saying, "Oh, you know, when Tekken 8 comes out, you guys see everybody's gonna, you know, play Tekken 8," and then Tekken 8 came out. There was a massive honeymoon phase, and then we all know, you know, season 2 came out, and we all know what happened after that. And obviously, it's 2XKO now. Before that, it was Fatal Fury, right? Like it's
Zalti says, those last minute desperation wins feel great. Sometimes the losses bring joy because you become proud that your opponent did something smart and unexpected. It also teaches you what to look out for and try. I'm assuming you're talking about like when we play fighting games, when we're playing Ultimate Ninja Storm, which that's true. There are times where you would beat me and I was like, oh, that was cool. That was awesome. That was smart. Like, that was so cool. Like, and that's because you like, let's say like, you called out a summons and I didn't see the summons, and then the summons just catch me lacking, and you maybe like converted it into something. So like, yes, it has been times where I've been proud of you, even though I took the L, and that's because you just did something cool as hell. You just did something like really cool and it caught me off guard that I was not expecting or did not see coming. And then it also allows me to reflect and like, okay, I got to be on the lookout for something like that. And then when you do it again and I do block it the next time, then I feel proud of myself because I caught it that time. So yeah, like fighting games give the same type of pleasure that a lot of these other games give. More so, if anything, because it's a competition between you and one other person for the most part. And like when you're able to overcome that person, you have this sense of pride. And there's so many times where like I either took the W by the skin of my teeth, just like on some lucky hit, like maybe I threw a kunai down, like a kunai down, and the joints exploded, and you didn't see it, and it hit you and helped me win. And then I'll just be so excited because of something like that. Because if that didn't happen, I was gonna lose. Like if that one thing didn't happen, I was about to take that L. So like it'd just be so exciting, and that's the type of stuff you get with other games too.
Already seen this before in Deception, a fighting game that came out literally 25 years ago. So you want me to grind this now again? Here's the thing. Here's what I don't understand about fighting games. They try to like be different from each other and unique and stuff, but then they don't actually try to introduce like brand new, unique mechanics. Like,
ooh, I disagree with that.
Most of these fighting games, even though they're different in how you would play them, like this game you have air dashing, this game's 3v3, this game's 1v1. Most of them, at the end of the day, rely on okay, what's the mix-up? What's the 50-50? Is it going to armor or not? Is it going to do this? And they don't try to be as different as they could. The only other games that come to mind are like things like Multiverse, that had a whole other host of issues with the game launch with barely any content and no characters. And then you have Smash. But then when fighting games are too different like Smash, people say, well, that's not a fighting game because it's not, where's my 50-50 and mix? Into health bar, into, I guess, right twice and you lost. So I don't even know.
I kind of disagree with that because we've had like innovations in fighting games. Like for example, Mortal Kombat 11, people hate it, but the crushing blow is relatively innovative and it's so casual friendly. That a lot, like people love and hate the crushing blow system. You also have like the various wake up systems in Mortal Kombat 11 too. You have like the up block in MK1, so they do implement stuff. You have like the punish counters in what was it, Street Fighter 5 or something like that. Like if you punish counter somebody, it'll be like a crushing sound, and then you can actually get in there and do like a combo or whatever. So they've implemented stuff like, for example, Street Fighter 5 implemented the V trigger and the V reversals and stuff like that, which was actually pretty cool. So they have been innovative, maybe not to the extent that he probably wants to, but there has been innovation in fighting games.
Massive could come out in the next fighting game, and by making it massive, they would have to put so much effort into the game, not only the gameplay, but everything outside the gameplay, like multiple different story modes, 20 different game modes, being able to play open world with your friend, like an MK Deception. Like they would have to add so much other stuff.
How exactly does crushing blows work? Well, most crushing blows in Mortal Kombat 11 tend to be like counter blows, meaning somebody threw out an attack and they missed, or you hit them before their attack can get out, and that will trigger like a crushing blow. But then other crushing blows have statistics, meaning you have to hit somebody with this particular move a certain amount of time, and then on the third time that move will give you a crushing blow. So you can set up crushing blows, so you can actually plan your game plan around activating a crushing blow. So for example, Liu Kang has the bicycle kick. If Liu Kang hits you with the bicycle kick, I want to say like 3 times or something like that, the 4th time Liu Kang hits you with the bicycle kick, it'll activate a crushing blow. So a lot of times when you play Liu Kang player, what they'll do is they'll do combos into bicycle kick. They'll count and mentally keep a note on how many times they hit you with the bicycle kick. And then once they load up the crushing blow, they'll save it. They won't do the bicycle kick no more until an opportune time. Whether it be something where if let's say they're getting their butt kicked and they need to use that crushing blow in order to enact a comeback, then they can do it like that. Or if it's a situation where if they activate the crushing blow, they can win. So there's like mind games and ways to play around certain crushing blows. And then you also just have certain crushing blows where like if you throw out an attack and miss and I hit you while you're still in the animation of your attack, then I can get a crushing blow and get some heavy damage. You also have crushing blows around armor break, meaning when somebody like breaks away from your combos, if you predict that, if you guess correctly, and you make a right read that they're going to break away from your combo and you do your armor break move, a lot of the times it'll trigger some sort of crushing blow for like massive damage, or it'll bounce them back up so that you can continue comboing them.
Whether they play 1 fighting game or 30 fighting games, to them, their experience never changes. So it's like it's a fighting.
So in Mortal Kombat 11, the crushing blow most people tend to see is the uppercut crushing blow, and that's because somebody threw out like a high attack, and then the person that did the crushing blow ducked the high attack. Well, the high attack completely missed, and then the person came up with an uppercut, and that triggered the crushing blow. That's the most common question blow in
Yeah,
Mortal
I
Kombat
see
11.
My friends that do not care about fighting games because they think it's like a joke and not a good game, like worth investing time into, is if the next Mortal Kombat game has a huge conquest mode, like MK Deception, but like 100 times bigger. You can invite, play with your friends. They have a Shaolin
Sounds
monk
like they're
side
talking
mode
about
where you
Mortal
play with your
Kombat.
friends. They have tag 2v2 MK9 style, or even 3v3, so you can play with 3 different people, 6 people in total, friends. They have rank. They have cameo mode, they have variation mode. They need to have like 20 different modes. They can even throw an invasion, they can throw in towers. It needs to be a huge fighting game with all these different elements, so that if you're someone that doesn't care about the gameplay or think it's like dumb, at least you have like 20 different things to play around.
You know what's crazy? He named all of that stuff, right? He named all of that stuff. All that stuff is in Mortal Kombat 11. All that stuff is in Mortal Kombat 11. That's one of the reasons why Mortal Kombat 11 sold so well. He said something about like a Deception's Conquest mode. We have something similar to like that in Mortal Kombat 11, but not to that extent, and that's the Crypt. The Crypt is very similar to the Conquest mode, with the exception of you going to like different realms and stuff like that. But it's very similar to like the Conquest mode of Deception. He mentioned something about like tag-based fights. You do have that in the Towers of Time. You do have like tag-based fighting in the Towers of Time with like other players too. So like let's say me and Zhao, we can be playing Mortal Kombat 11. We can go into the Towers of Time and fight like this boss character or whatever, and I could be tagging him in, and he could tag me in or whatever, as we chip away at this boss character's life. And if we win, we get like a bunch of cool cosmetics and stuff like that. So Mortal Kombat 11 actually does have that. It's not so much in like the versus aspect of it, but it does have something like that. In terms of cameos, they do have something like that in the Towers of Time. You can get like a Boraicho cameo. You can get like a Sector cameo thing. Now, a lot of times you don't see the body, the person, but you do see like their move come out. And on top of that, if you did want to play like a cameo S type character, you do have Stunt Double Johnny Cage, and you can take that to versus mode, and that'll essentially give you a cameo character. In fact, cameo Stunt Double Johnny for Mortal Kombat 11, when I play him, I actually named him Cameo Cage. Before I used to name him Stunt Double Johnny, but now I name him like Cameo Cage because it's basically the cameo system that's in Mortal Kombat 1 to a worse extent, because it sucks because he's stuck in the animation way too long. But that's basically what it is. So we do have like a cameo S type system, as well as a tag based S system. You have the Towers of Time. You have like the arcade ladders in Mortal Kombat 11. You do have like the story mode in Mortal Kombat 11. So basically everything he named basically is in Mortal Kombat 11. And he basically said you would need to add all of that for the next Mortal Kombat to be a success. And we all know Mortal Kombat 11 is the best-selling NetherRealm game of all time. It's one of the, if not the most successful NetherRealm game of all time, and one of the most successful and best-selling fighting games of all time. So Rio has a point with that. You do need these mini games to appeal to the more casual audience. In fact, you also have like the AI battles too. So if people don't even want to fight and they just want to watch the computer beat the crap out of each other, you can. In fact, I used to do streams where it would just be an AI battle, and I have like my audience choose the team that my AI team would go against. And then I would tweak the AI teams, because you can do attributes and stuff to each character to dictate how they're going to fight within the AI. And I would do that live on stream for entertainment. And that's so casual. It's so casual. So yes, MK REO has a great point when he says that.
And invest time into, and also bring back the Crypt like MK11, but make that even bigger. So it'd have to be a massive big project. And it sucks that the only way to make a fighting game big these days is to do that, unless you can be the exception. I guess make a game that a lot of people like playing, like Street Fighter 6, where the gameplay is I guess considered to be fun. And I guess Street Fighter 6, I don't know much about it because I don't play it, but it's not really like an overhead and low walk-up 50-50 game, even though it does have a lot of offensive stuff. But it's probably the most different in terms of still being an offensive game compared to all these other games. Because like you got Tekken 8, MK.
I mean, in terms of Street Fighter 6 has that. Like, they have their conquest type mode or their crypt type mode, where you run around with their created character and you do like these side missions and stuff like that. So Street Fighter 6 has something for the casuals, because that it takes hours to complete that mode too. I still haven't completed that mode, and they keep adding to it too with every character DLC character that they drop. So like, yeah, Street Fighter 6 has a mode like that. They also have like a little arcade section for the casuals and stuff like that. So like, no, Street Fighter has modes for the casual audience, not just the straight up fighting, even though the straight up fighting in it is also really good too. It has modes for other characters. And for the most part, I mean, Mortal Kombat's success has really hinged on its other side modes. I mean, if you think about it, you think of like MK Deception. There's a reason why people think MK Deception is one of the best 3D fighting games, especially within the Mortal Kombat genre, and that's because you had the chess game, the chess combat, and you also had like the what was it, like the Tetris s combat, where you're playing basically like Tetris, and you had the little two avatars fighting, and if you lose, one avatar would do the fatality on the other. So they had like mini games like that. If I'm not mistaken, Armageddon, Mortal Kombat Armageddon had the kart racer, which is kind of like Mario Kart or whatever. So like, and then both of those games also had like a Conquest S mode for the story mode. So Mortal Kombat has been doing this for a while now. Mortal Kombat has been doing stuff like this for decades, and they've seen success doing so. So it's not even something that's like new or whatever like that. Like, if you really think of some of the most popular games that's out, yeah, some of them like Marvel vs. Capcom has just been like huge success, Street Fighter 2 and stuff like that. But that's around the time when the fighting game genre was still relatively new, and there was a lot of people exploring it and stuff like that. But no, for the most part, like, these fighting games has always needed something more. They always needed something else to appeal to the casuals.
Guilty Gear anime games, they're all doing like ridiculous overhead 50-50 lows into combo loops into repeat. So I guess that's one thing that Street Fighter 6 has going for it, which is why a lot of people are gravitating towards it and why it's so big over in Japan.
And one of the biggest things that people talk about Street Fighter 6 is the throw loops.
I mean, I don't think the mix-ups are that complicated in Street Fighter 6. A lot of it has to do with just like, for example, the throw loops.
Yeah, see, the throw loops.
Corner, they're very strong. It essentially comes down to throw, shimmy, maybe you do a drive rush into overhead. I think the mix-ups are pretty elementary, but I do believe that you're onto something. I do think Street Fighter, because it's a global phenomenon, because it's had a community for such a long time, and essentially most of the popular games that people play in the FGC are almost exclusively all Capcom games, right? Like Third Strike, we saw like a couple of years ago, came back and had like 1,000 players. That's incredible. Marvel, I don't think it performed to that standard, but people still play that game. Marvel's Capcom 2.
Yeah.
Super Turbo is still being played, and obviously Street Fighter 6 now as well had. When it was
Is Street Fighter Alpha still being played? Like, Alpha 3 was phenomenal. That's one of my favorite Street Fighter games.
Selling very well as well. I think it's up to close to, it's approaching 7 million, which for fighting game standards is excellent. So that game, I think, has a global following, to the extent that it can, it's kind of growing and it can always kind of support itself. And I think there's enough, culture in that community and enough unity, particularly overseas, to the extent that sponsors will throw money at it, thinking that there might be something there, right? There might be a payout at the very end. But I think essentially that's the only game that could work in the FGC, whereas pretty much all the other ones, like Mortal Kombat, they just advertise to the general, the general gaming market, and that's how they make their money. Not that Capcom doesn't, right? Of course they do. But we can all agree that maybe Street Fighter, has a more hardcore FGC audience than Mortal Kombat has ever had.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like, Street Fighter definitely has a more hardcore FGC audience. But I would also say Mortal Kombat is also global as well. The problem with Mortal Kombat is, due to its gratuity and nudity, it tends to be banned in certain markets. Like, for example, I don't think they can watch or buy or play Mortal Kombat games in like Japan or China and some of those other markets. So that's the only thing that prevents Mortal Kombat from truly being global and even being even way bigger than like Street Fighter. It's because it's like literally banned in certain markets.
Again, how many people really downloaded the game, right? I mean, how many people do we think downloaded it?
You're referring to 2XKO? You're
talking about 2XKO?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious too. It's not on Steam, so like Steam would actually give numbers, but
the results,
like the Riot client doesn't give numbers, unfortunately.
And I didn't really get much. It's probably related to the fact that, whether it's the cosmetics or, everything surrounding the game that you could purchase, so they can make their money that way. I assume that probably flopped to a large extent. and now they kind of, they had to the extent obviously they had to lay off people, half the staff. I think again that's probably related to.
Well, let's say 13 million bought it. I mean, downloaded it, right?
Okay.
That's the same number of people that
It's a nice
bought Mortal Kombat
conservative.
and Street Fighter.
That's a nice conservative
That's
number.
a big number, right? Let's say 13 million downloaded it.
That's
For one, for a free-to-play model,
small for mobile.
yes, that's my point. So for a free-to-play game, that's a very small number of people.
I'm about to say
Of
that's a
that
conservative
13
number.
million, and I'm highballing everything. Let's say 40% of that. So half would be somewhere around 6.5 million. So let's say of that 13 million, let's say 4.5 to 5 million people were actually going to spend some money. For a free-to-play game, that's just not enough. It sounds like a lot, but it's not enough to justify a 120-man development team. It just can't. And I promise you, the numbers are.
Hold on. Wait. That might be a little too much of a highball, Tom. Because you say 120, 160 man team or whatever. You're saying like 4 million people willing to spend money. Like the least amount of money they can spend is like $20 in that game. So like you get 4 million people dropping $20. Like you're talking what 4 times 20 is $200 million. $200 million is a lot, man. It's a lot.
Not that high. Not to that extent. I promise you, 2XKO does not have 5 million people spending money on it, and I highly doubt it has 13 to 15 million downloads. So the numbers,
which that's crazy.
It's extremely small.
That's crazy. If it doesn't have 13 million downloads, like it's on PlayStation and Xbox and on PC. Like PlayStation alone has almost 100 million people playing it, or 100 million subscribers. Oh no, I think it's close to like 60 people that are 60 million subscribed to like PlayStation Plus or something like that. But then you also have Xbox, which I think the Xbox has sold over 30 million units. And then you also have PC, which there's over 150 million people on PC. So for it to have a free-to-play to only have like 13 million, that is very low. That is relatively low.
As the years went by, people just started caring less and less and less and less. And now when we finally got it, after all that wait, people are like, there's only 10 characters. We've been waiting like almost a decade for this game that's been worked on. That's it. So it's kind of made people in a way just not really care about the game. And they kind of don't even care if they would release an announcement tomorrow going like, guys, we're joking. We hired 3 times the amount of people we ever had before. We're going to be working crazy. But I think still a lot of people literally wouldn't care. They're playing what they like. They're moving on to other stuff. And this game, they already threw it in the back burner. Like to them, it's whatever because of just how the game went to be about. They should never announce it this way. And I think they should.
I mean, I kind of agree with them, but it is a shame because 2XKO is a pretty good game. It is a pretty good game, but it is very content light. I will say that it is very content light for a game that people has been waiting for about 10 years for.
That the hype, dwindled down a bit, because they took so long. But I think it's also important to note the video that Maximilian posted. I believe it was a podcast with Brian F, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know if Tom or Cherny linked me to it, but
anybody checking out the stream, like and subscribe.
Well, he was saying a bunch of stuff, but like fighting games are kind of like happy accidents. And I've been telling these people for a long time. There's no secret formula. If you just make this game this way, then everybody's gonna play. I mean, they just try to do that. Like this doesn't work, right? Like I think
I actually agree with that. That's actually a very good statement because the good fighting games that have been known to test the fate of time are, I guess you could say, all them were by accident. Like Melee is one of them.
Correct. Yeah, correct. And I think a lot of that has almost nothing to do with the game itself, right? Like Mortal Kombat 9. Do you know why it was popular? Because players like you guys. Because you played and you were entertaining.
Well, I think in order to make a very successful fighting game, at its core, the fighting game just needs to be fun. they need to focus on the fun factor of the fighting game first and foremost before they start like a lot of this other stuff. At its core, the fighting game just has to be a fun fighting game. Zal Seed says the problem with 2XKO is that they kept pushing it back. So not having more than 10 available and playable characters that don't require grinding or buying was a big mistake. Yeah, people's been waiting for 2XKO for like 10 years now. They announced that joint so long ago. So long ago. And then when they finally released, granted, they made it free to play, which that is good. Like, it is a free to play game. But to have only 10 characters, and out of that 10 characters, almost half of them are locked away. So like, yeah, so you only really got like 6-7 characters that you are able to play, and out of the maps, I think there's like 8 maps or something like that, and I want to say like half those maps are locked away. So you only really have access to like 4 maps, even though there's 8 in the game. But you have to either pay or grind to unlock the other maps. I do agree, like that's trash. Like that is trash.
But then they're gonna have to do 1,000 other things outside of the gameplay to make it feel like a fighting game that's worth picking up and, you know, putting any time into for everybody.
Look, I'm not disagreeing with the single player content, you know, with the overall quality of the game. Who is against that, right? Everybody supports that. My only argument is that, guys, we've been friends for like what, almost 20 years, if not more. I have sometimes very different opinions of how fighting games should play than Rio or even Tom, right? I think Tom and I are probably closer, but Rio and I have very difficult, you know, different opinions how fighting games should play. That's why we bicker all the time. You cannot appease everybody, right? A lot of what you guys are watching, you know, back in the day that made you watch has nothing to do with the game necessarily itself. Has to do with, you know, 60-bit popping off, Perfect Legend kind of be, you know, acting a jerk, and you know, people, you know, some people, you know, a lot of people like that. You know, to lesser extent, me with Freddy, you know, maybe you wanted to see me lose because I'm this, you know, asshole zoning player, like CD Junior, Max. I mean, you name it, Dizzy. You know, we were personalities. You watched your quote unquote stars.
I get what you're saying, but you're making it seem like more that MK9 was seen as fun because the community in the game actually wasn't fun. But if that were true, then me playing it like I do sometimes these days, the game still feels fun. So there's definitely, the game definitely was better than what we had before. Like,
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, in order to have a successful fighting game, you just have to make sure it's fun. Now, once you have at its core a fun fighting game, that's when you work everything else around it. That's when you work the arcade ladders, the story mode, the other stuff, the balancing and stuff like that. But the core of the game has to have some sort of level of fun to it.
Especially not by modern standards. I think the other games at that time were better. I do think like Street Fighter 4 was better, whatever. And I'm forgetting the other games. I don't think the game was anything special. I know I'm only, you know, I'm judging the game by modern standards, which is not fair. But in my opinion, there's really not that special of a game. I think it's a game rooted in.
It was very unique. It had tag mode. It had story mode. It had. Like, I understand you saying the
Yo, so many people like praise Street Fighter 4, and yes, Street Fighter 4, great fighting game. If I had to guess, or in my opinion, the end of Street Fighter 5 was a better fighting game than the end of Street Fighter 4. So ultimately now, if you were to go back, I would say Street Fighter 5 is actually a better fighting game than Street Fighter 4. So like, yeah, that's great. And even now, like I would say Street Fighter 6 is up there. It's debatable whether it's better than Street Fighter 4, but Street Fighter 6 is also a really good fighting game too.
Back in the day, you had.
That's a hot take. That's a hot take,
dude. That's people want to be entertained. And
don't cancel me for that opinion. Don't cancel me.
In that business of them, like you would be shocked how easily people fall for it. Like you can get their attention if you're just entertaining, and it has nothing to do with gameplay. Honestly, in my opinion, like people watch these content creators because they're funny, because they have an interesting personality. Like most of the time, the gameplay is boring. They've seen it a million times. There's an oversaturation, like Max is saying.
I didn't have much time tonight. Thanks for having me on.
It's probably why nobody watches me. I think I'm pretty boring, and my gameplay tends to be relatively boring. I try to make things hype and stuff like that with bringing energy to the streams and stuff, but I think ultimately I'm pretty boring, and that's probably why my channel hasn't popped.
Because you could have a game, let's say it's Deception, right? If you had the same personalities playing Deception, I guarantee you everybody would not be raving about, oh, I can't wait to go to MK9 plays tournament, can't wait to run counter, because I think people just be like, this is, you know, not, the gameplay is awful.
No, again, I don't think you're necessarily wrong. I'm just saying that, just again, you and me, how many times have we talked? Like, we're obviously friends, but if you ask me what an ideal fighting game is, you and I have some answers. I'm sure we would agree, and there are others we would highly disagree, right? Because again, it comes down to preferences and what you like and what you dislike. I really think it's that simple, and that's why there's this divide. That's why the FGC cannot grow, because there are people who believe that there should be no fireballs in a fighting game. Everything should be like close up, like almost like a real fight. I think that's silly. I would never play a game like that, but many people would.
There are games like that though. Come on, Dave. Like there are games where there are no projectiles. I mean, Tekken for the most part. I don't think there's no projectiles in Tekken or Dead or Alive or Virtual Fighter.
Like your typical NRS zoner, which people are not a fan of. And you can't really blame them for feeling that way when the game has created these annoying characters that have just turned people off from wanting to deal with that again. But to say that, yeah, we shouldn't have fireballs is a bit extreme. I think whenever people are being extreme about something regarding a character archetype, or there shouldn't be command grabs, if people are saying MK11, that shouldn't be taken seriously. But
I want to say Samurai Showdown also doesn't have fireballs either.
To make it so people can interact and be fun. Like, for example, do we need a command grab that every time we get grabbed by it, it's a 10-second long animation? No, that's bad. Just as, do we need a projectile that you can do and it does 9% on hit, barely any whiff recovery, and you can't really do much about it? No, that's also bad design. It really depends how they... It's not really about removing the zoning or removing the mix-up or whatever. It's about making so it's more acceptable and enjoyable to use and play against.
I don't think anything that you're saying is wrong. However, there are fighting games, even outdating Mortal Kombat 9 that have those designs, and people still play them. Like Super Turbo has Guile. Dawson,
yeah,
to
but
a lesser
that's
extent,
because
right?
the reason why people don't play MK9 isn't because of the gameplay. It's because the game is unplayable. You can play Super Turbo and roll back netcode for like decades now. You can't do MK9. MK9's never been playable. That's the reason why the game died so quickly.
I'm just telling you that.
I mean, the way people praise MK9, like I would love for NetherRealm to like re-release MK9, update the graphics, and put like rollback netcode and all that stuff. MK9's a great game. I don't want to take anything away from it, but I think a lot of these people tend to overhype it. I don't think it's as good as a lot of these people fantasize it to be. You know what I mean? Like I definitely think like MKX and MK11 are better than Mortal Kombat 9.
If somebody interviewed us and asked us, "Hey, what would you like to see?" Maybe like 6, 7, maybe even 8 sometimes out of 10 things we would agree on, and there are like 2, 3 things we would like be I don't want this, or I don't think this should be in the game. And I think Rio and I are a perfect example of that, right? There's a lot of things we agree on that we would like to see in the next NRS game, and there are a lot of things we disagree on, and that's just reality. That means you just cannot. That just means that the developer cannot please everybody. That's just how it works.
Right, but who's saying that there's a game that needs to please everybody? I don't think that's, unless maybe I missed something.
Well, not necessarily everybody, but to grow it, right? Like, it's just that there's enough of a divide in the FGC to the extent that, like Tom was saying before he left, that there's you can't, that you kind of slice the pizza in 10 different pieces, and you kind of expect to.
I mean, you can't really please everybody because there's so many different genres of gaming. You have like your arena-based fighters, you have your 3D-based fighters, you have your assist-based fighters, your tag-based fighters, your 1v1-based fighters. So it's almost impossible. It is almost impossible to appease all of those people in one fighting game. Like that's never gonna happen.
If your first fighting game was MK9, and for 2 years of MK9's life, you learn that anti-airs are very good. When people jump, you anti-air, get a full combo. There's no damage scaling on jumping, etc. How would you feel if the 2 years of you investing your time to learn a game, to understand it, goes out the window when a game like MKX comes out? MKX comes out on launch, and anti-airs are so bad, everything you learned is out the window. Would that frustrate you and feel like you wasted your time? Or would you all of a sudden enjoy the game and like it?
You can enjoy other things within the new game.
So that's the issue. A lot of these games that Tom was saying, like, you can learn a skill set in one game, play the next game from the same franchise, and all of a sudden everything you spent years learning and practicing is out the window. It's a different game, plays differently. You basically waste your time playing the last game. So you knowing that in this new game, why would you waste your time playing the newer game when what you learned in this new game for the next couple years will probably be out the window for the game after that. Wouldn't that kind of turn you off and be like, I'm going to play other stuff? Like, I don't need to play this. I spent years of my life playing this fighting game. Then I come back to MK, play next game, and now you're telling me everything I learned doesn't matter anymore, and the game is just different because the developers didn't care enough to want to respect the player's time of them investing in the previous game for years. I'm not saying they need to make every game play the same, but there's certain skill sets that once they take certain time to learn, they should not be tossed in the trash like that. That just turns people off.
I get what he's saying.
No,
I get what he's saying.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I think you make a great point, but I mean, you can make the same case about any game, including Mortal Kombat 9.
You
let's say
can.
Kano
You can make the same case with other games too. Like, for example, Call of Duty. Call of Duty is still very popular. But for example, like a lot of the times, the devs will change up certain guns. They will change up guns. So like the M16 in Modern Warfare 2 plays different than like the M16 in Modern Warfare 1 and stuff like that. Even though it's the sequel to the game, it's the same gun and all that stuff. It'll have like different sway and maybe different time to kill ratios and stuff like that. But and that does frustrate people, like, but that then forces people to then start using other guns or other weapons and finding enjoyment just using other tools that the new game has. I think that's the same thing with fighting games. Like, if the way you learn how to do anti-air in one game is, let's say, is different in the other game, well, then you just got to learn how to do the anti-airs in the other game.
Well, either way, I put in the work with the character even before that move ever even existed or was buffed. So, like, why am I getting punished?
You know, I get what you're saying, but you're comparing like a couple months in a patch of a game of one specific thing. You're comparing that to this whole fundamental thing you spent years learning in a game that's completely thrown out the window the next Mortal Kombat game you play.
Well, I mean, it's still 2 months of my life for a game that I was competing in. I don't think he should have ever been nerfed. I think I think he was fine because there were a lot there at that time. There was a lot.
The other thing too, like, yes, years of your life learning this one thing from this one game. With the exception of like Mortal Kombat, most fighting games tend to have a long lifespan. For the most part, tend to have a long lifespan. If you look at stuff like Street Fighter. Like, Street Fighter tends to go 5, 6, 7 years before a new Street Fighter comes out. Same thing with like Tekken. Same thing with Virtual Fighter. Same thing with Dead or Alive. Tends to be like years in between. Whereas like other games, like your Call of Duty comes out every year. Your Battlefield comes out like every 2 to 3 years and stuff like that. So like a lot of other genres of games up until recently used to have like annual releases of the game and stuff like that, which that wasn't always the case with fighting games, with the exception of Mortal Kombat. And even Mortal Kombat, that even had like a 2 to 3 year life cycle, because like, no, I think it had more like a 4-year life cycle, because you would have like your Mortal Kombat for 2 years, then you have your Injustice for 2 years, and then you get the new Mortal Kombat. So even Mortal Kombat would have like a 4-year life cycle for the most part, with the exception of MK11, which had a longer life cycle than the others, if I recall correctly. But I mean, with that being said, you look at Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm, that's been out before Naruto and Boruto Connections. I want to say Ninja Storm 4 was out like 8 years before the Naruto Boruto Ultimate Ninja Storms came out. Look at Smash Brothers. There's usually like years between Smash Brothers games and stuff like that. So fighting games do tend to be out for a relatively long time. And most of the time they do tend to get supported for long periods of time. Like, I mean, for example, like Street Fighter, Tekken, Smash Brothers. So for the most part, they do tend to get supported for an extended period of time. If I recall correctly, you also had like Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct was being supported for like 4 years or something like that, 4 or 5 years before. You look at Dragon Ball FighterZ right now, that thing is still getting patches. If I'm not mistaken, Dragon Ball FighterZ is still getting patches, and that game came out, what, 8 years ago now? So like, so yeah, I understand what he's saying, but at the same time, when in the fighting game genre, the longevity of these games do tend to be even longer though. So by the time the new one comes out, a lot of times people tend to be burnt out on the old one.
More broken stuff the freaking Apple Kano ever was. It's just that, I'm sure even they would admit that they were unsure about what they were doing, and I don't want to harp too much of the history of it, and but yeah, that's kind of what it was. And You can make the same case for any game. You know, anytime there's a change, Tom would say, they literally removed the ice code in Mortal Kombat 11, like, and they made Sub-Zero 50-50. That's essentially why he was yapping, right? And he has a point. They essentially got rid of
Right, and that's
what he
more
was
what I
good
was
at.
saying. If Tom spends years playing Sub-Zero a certain way and mastering it and getting good like that, to play the next MK game and see that be completely removed, it's almost like it's a big slap in the face, not only to the player, but your time. And that kind of goes to what I was saying. So the problem with MK games is they like to like reinvent the wheel with characters. Like if Scorpion is like an anti-zoner in whatever game, the next game he becomes a zoner, wouldn't you feel like, what is this? Like you'd probably want to.
I get what he's saying. That's particularly the case with Mortal Kombat games. For example, Rain and MK11 is very different from Rain and MK1. Rain and MK1 is a zoner, whereas Rain and MK11 is a up close, in your face type fighter with great movement, which is different from MK1's Rain. So yeah, I get it. Like they do change up the characters drastically in these Mortal Kombat games, but every game tends to make tweaks. They just don't make it to the extent of like Mortal Kombat games. Like Mortal Kombat will they'll change the buttons. Like in every Street Fighter game, the Hadouken's like down forward punch, down forward fierce or something like that. Whereas in Mortal Kombat, like Sub-Zero's ice ball might change. Like it might be down forward 1, and the next game it might be down forward 3, and the next game it might be down forward 4. Like Sub-Zero's ice ball literally changes in every game. So yeah, I get what he's saying, and it could be frustrating being a Mortal Kombat fan, but he also has to take into account, like, for example, like Ken in Street Fighter 5 plays very different from Ken in Street Fighter 6. So like even other story genre gaming franchises do the same thing. I think Tekken is like the only one that don't really do that because they have like this extreme legacy to them.
If the game's full of armor, then you will be pissed. If the game has no ice code and no defense time, will be pissed. You cannot please everybody. That's what I mean by that.
Yeah, but who's saying you have to please everybody though?
Well, aren't you trying to get people to play your game, as many different people as possible? Like not necessarily everybody by the literalist sense of the word, but like as many people as possible.
Yeah, but some people are just not going to be into fighting games no matter what. That's why they have to do stuff outside fighting games. Like for example, my friends would play a fighting game if there was an MK Deception Conquest like Deception had, but 100 times bigger. If it had the crypt from MK11, but 100 times bigger. If it had all these different modes you can choose, towers, invasions, like you can have. That's why they would play it.
I agree with that.
Making it so everybody agrees with the tier list, or everybody's favorite character is the best. I think you're kind of looking at it in the wrong way, or not understanding what I'm saying.
Yeah, in order to appease the casual market, they need to add other game modes.
Game that's as much of an action game as an action game, or as much of an RPG game as an actual RPG game, on top of trying to, manage the online gameplay, manage the balance of the game, manage a new system. Like that game will probably take 20 years to create, and at that point, it's just not worth it. Like it's not worth the effort. It sounds like you're talking about people who probably shouldn't be playing fighting games anyway.
I mean, I disagree with that. I disagree with that because you do have like MK11, and MK11 was made in like 3-4 years. And MK11 has a story mode. They have a crypt mode. They have the AI battle mode. They have the Towers of Time. They have the arcade ladders. They have the customizations. They have so much within that game. So yeah, no, I think it is possible, and I think it's something that's possible within like a five-year window.
Don't like playing fighting games?
I don't think you need to have the same 50 people working on a game do everything. Like what they should do, this would cost more money than 10 years to make. You would have to have a really big team. You could have like 50 or 100 of them work on the crypt, 50 or 100 of them work on the gameplay, 50 or 100 of them work on the conquest, like that. That's how you would do it. So you wouldn't have the same team of 50 people doing everything together for 10 years, because then that would take, a long time. If they do it that way, they could actually get it done.
Yeah, but
and then you also got to take into account too, like back in the day with Mortal Kombat Deception and Mortal Kombat Armageddon, I want to say those games came out like a year or two apart from each other. And although the gameplay was really similar, they were able to add like a conquest mode as well as a relatively large conquest mode, all things considering for those consoles. as well as like other mini games too, like kart racing or and chess combat and chess puzzles and stuff like that. So, and they were able to do that in like a 2 year
What
span.
I'm saying would make them more money. Why would it not make them more money?
I mean, look at what just happened to 2XKO. They thought they were going to get a massive, reward by essentially appealing to the more hardcore, aspects of the FGC or the FGC in general. Like, look what
Yeah.
happened. Like,
Yeah, you have to appeal to the casuals.
We're gonna put all
You
this
have to
money,
get the
the game's gonna be
casuals on
great,
board.
Look at all these tournaments. We're gonna sponsor all these tournaments, and they had to cut down. Now 2XKO had to cut down. Mortal Kombat Chaos Reigns, right? They had to cut. They essentially pulled the plug on that as well, right? Like, I don't think it's as easy as people imply. Obviously, if it were easy, then somebody would have done it already.
To be fair though,
KO failed to me because they took like almost 10 years to release a fighting game with 10 characters. There's like no story mode. There's none of what I just told you.
so yeah, exactly. Like MK REO got a point there. Like 2XKO doesn't have anything for the casuals. It's just straight up fighting. It's just straight up fighting. You do have like that little social aspect with the arcade and stuff like that, which same thing that Street Fighter has. And I think it's another game that has that too. I don't remember. I think Dragon Ball Fighters has something similar to it. It's not an arcade though, but they have like a similar lobby thing to it. But that's other than that, it's just fighting in 2XKO. So they're definitely appealing to more of the hardcore. Mortal Kombat 1, that failed. That one didn't have much for the casuals either. Like for the most part, it had the new mode, not the conquest mode. I forget the name of the new mode. It was trash though. Like you got the people just walking around on this chessboard looking thing, and then they go into the next fight. It was really bad. The single player content they had that would have appealed to the casuals outside of the story mode, which was pretty decent, was the other mode. And I'm blanking on the name of the other mode, but that mode wasn't good. And that was the problem. Other than that, Mortal Kombat 1 was relatively content light as well at launch. It was relatively content light at launch because I don't think we had access to crossplay at launch. If we did, I don't think we had access to like the King of the Hill or not Combat League, but the King of the Hill. I don't think that was accessible at launch. There was like a bunch of game modes that wasn't like accessible at launch in Mortal Kombat 1. And then you consider the fact that like NetherRealm has fostered generations of Mortal Kombat fans on a 1v1 fighting game and then completely threw that out the window. That also is not going to appeal to the wider majority of NetherRealm fans.
Follow that play to free model that that works for other genres.
Like literally their first like 10 games or whatever were all 1v1. Then all of a sudden they just like, yeah, we're not gonna do 1v1. It's assist based now. It's tag based now. Like, nah, like you
only like 8 characters, then you have to grind for the other 2 characters. It's kind of, what if you don't like the first 8 characters? You play something else.
And that's what I was saying to Zal. If you don't like the characters, then what do you play? Like who do you play with?
Well, for me personally, the content of the game is playing the game, and if you don't like it, then it's not for you. If you like it, keep playing, right? Like I don't know what else to tell you. I think that's really how fighting games work. I don't know. I guess you're gonna follow people.
I thought the argument was to make fighting games grow and become bigger. To do that, you must reach outside of people that don't want to just play a hardcore fighting game. So, for example, if you want the next MK game, let's call it MK13, to be massive and be bigger than what MK1 was, then not only does the fighting game have to be really good and the gameplay to cater to us, the 1% hardcore players, but
I
then
agree.
You have to have a bunch of things that would make other people go like, you know what, let me buy this game. This is kind of cool. It's a fighting game. I don't like fighting games, but it has this stuff. Let me try it.
I agree.
When these people try it, 1 out of like 1,000 of them that try it may end up sticking with it. They may end up learning it and liking it, and maybe they'll take it seriously. So
he's spitting.
Like
he's spitting.
Crypt like MK11 had, but bigger. Bring back MK Deception, but make it bigger. Have an even bigger story mode. Have unique stuff that you can have all these different modes. They just put as much as they can. You have a better chance to attract other people that don't just want to sit there and play a fighting game in terms of, oh, what's this frame rate on block? What's this? What is it like? There's a lot of people that don't care about the very technical matchup stuff. They just want the fighting game to feel fun, and they want there to be fun modes and things to play. When a fighting game can't do that, then it loses out on a lot of people that would get into it.
I mean, Mortal Kombat traditionally, right, has been very good at that. Again, not ideal, right, by any stretch of the imagination, but has been a lot better than most of the other games. And uh, most of the games that people still play, the ones that you would praise, and certain ones that I would praise, you play Third Strike, I play Super Turbo. Those games have nothing in them. Like they're played strictly because of their um, gameplay, and they are successful for what they are. To this day, they make money on
Third
cash
Strike
out.
was a bit of a
So I
financial
think we
flop.
kind of live in an idealistic world where I don't know, a fighting games single player content is as big as I don't know, uh, Resident Evil's main story. Like that's never gonna happen. That's insanity. Like they don't have that much time to, uh, you know, hire I don't know 1,000 people to work on all
If
this
they
stuff.
properly plan
At
it,
the
I
end of the
think they
day,
can do something.
fighting games you
I
play
think they
for
can
the
do something.
fighting. At some point, right? There's only so much you can play the crypt and so much you can do invasions. At the end of the day, like you have to play
Oh,
fighting
Invasions
games
was the
to
name of the
win.
mode in Mortal
They
Kombat
have a
1. That mode
story,
was trash.
and if you don't like it, then it's not for you.
Yes,
And I
people
love
play it for the fighting game, but for the fighting, but there's also a lot of people that love the lore in video games.
being what they are.
Like, for example, History Behind the Warrior was able to grow his YouTube channel just basically talking about the lore of every character, the backgrounds of every character, because people cares about that stuff. So if they can play a story mode where they can learn more about these characters, people love that. There's a reason why people play the story mode in all of these Mortal Kombat games. People will play through the story mode of MK9, X, 11, 1. It's because they want to know more about the character, and people will do a crap ton of content based off of the story modes of these Mortal Kombat games.
For example, fighting games that don't play them. If you don't like a cameo system, don't play Mortal Kombat 1. Like I'm telling people the truth, so they're not
Right, but
miserable
don't you
playing
see
the game.
people don't play fighting games? They're like the smallest competitive game to exist. They already do that, Dave. They're doing exactly what you said. A lot of people just don't play fighting games and don't pay attention to them. And what's crazy is even the age range for fighting games is so low compared to a lot of other games. Usually when it comes to fighting games, it's basically people in their teens or 20s that stick to them and play them. After their 20s, most people play fighting games, they just move on. They stop playing it.
They go to like
You
a
play other
shooting
games like
game or a
shooters or
single
MOBAs,
player
whatever,
game or something.
There's a lot more players that are older in them, like in their 30s or 40s and so on, that are playing them. Fighting games, a lot of people over 20 don't. They seem to just lose interest and move on to play other stuff.
No, I know, and I would go back and say, look, fighting games had their time. Opinions change, trends change, culture changes, and now people like to play whatever first-person shooter, mobile, etc., right? Like those games at one point didn't even exist. It was fighting games dominated the arcade scene, essentially even resurrecting it, right? So, I mean, if a lot of people in the FTC act like these people are just a bunch of morons who just do random, make random decisions. These companies are multi-million dollar companies, if not billion, right? They make so much money. Of course, they're gonna do their own research to try to figure this stuff out. Nobody has figured it out yet, so it's very very difficult to to grow the scene, to grow fighting games in general. It's not that easy. If it were easy, these people would have done it already.
I don't think anybody's saying it's very easy to do. I don't. You keep saying that, but I don't think who's saying it's very easy to make a fighting game good.
Because people act like I don't know if the games had this what I like, if the games had better anti-airs, if people added these 20 things, like how do you know? Like
Well, the problem
nobody
is,
knows.
okay, so to start with, you shouldn't be asking for better answers. That means already the game failed. If it can't do the very bare bone basics, like have functioning anti-airs that work when you read somebody jump, then the game already needs to go back to the back burner and be recreated, or they need to make a new game. Because that already missed the mark. So right now, the only, like you said, the only fighting games are made to cater to hardcore only. That's the only people that should play them. Well, it's not even doing that right there. When the basic functions don't work like anti-airs, it's already huge red flag. So the game's already screwed. Because now that the game is only catered to hardcore.
Which modern game has no anti-airs? Like, literally all of them do. Like,
Well, I was going off your
from
example
what
you said.
well, no, really, when people say these are all flawed arguments. People say that the game has no anti-airs. What they actually mean is it doesn't have the anti-airs that I'm used to, that I want. Like it doesn't have, I don't know, a jab anti-air like in Street Fighter 5 or a jab anti-air like in Mortal Kombat 9. When people say, including me, I'm keeping it honest. When people say that the game has no zoning, like for me, MK11, what I actually meant is it doesn't have the zoning that I want. And guess what this causes? Separation in the FGC, separation in the market. There you go. That's what I've been trying to tell you.
But MK11 is a bad example because MK11 did have the zone you wanted, and people did not like it. It got patched out very quickly.
Yeah, I know. And that's again, it causes separation in the FGC. I was like, yeah, this game, I don't like it. And other people, yeah, thank God that's gone. I don't want to. I never wanted to deal with this. I'm glad it's fit. I mean, you
I
kind
mean,
of proved my
Mortal
point.
Kombat 11
Not
does
that
still
it's,
have
you know,
some pretty
who's right
crazy
or who's wrong.
zoning.
I don't think that really matters. I'm just telling you,
RoboCop
there's
is
enough
a
division
menace.
about gameplay. You will never please as many people as you think you can.
But Dave, the way you're going about this is how it's going to be. You have to accept it and move on. I mean, if that is going to be the discussion when it comes to ever talking about fighting games, then what is the point of even talking about it if it's always the same thing?
Well, I do think more people should be accepting. Like
Right,
people
but
say
every
they
time
want.
there's a discussion about hey fighting this and that, the talking points cannot always be this is just how it is. People are bad. They need to accept, move on, because then there's nothing to be talked about because that's the whole discussion every time this topic comes up. I mean, it's just shutting down the conversation.
But
Do you
that's
want
the
fighting games to
reality.
grow and become bigger or not?
Well, I do, but I think you also have to face reality. Like, why is MKX
Okay,
so
but if you
popular?
want fighting games to become bigger and grow, then you have to think of ideas and how they could do it, not be like it's never going to happen, no one's going to be happy. Just deal with it, move on, play something else. Because then other games will start growing and fighting games won't. You're doing like the opposite here.
Well, look at Mortal Kombat.
I don't think fighting games
Combat
should
X, right?
stay small
The
and
game-
tiny. I think they should become bigger.
Yeah, I agree. They need to get bigger.
Well, I'm not against them being bigger. The problem is that let me give you specific examples. Like Mortal Kombat X, right, is very popular with the casual audience because of its uh, dynamic, and I'm trying to use positive words here, dynamic, offensive gameplay, right? Like they like to watch stuff happening all the time. Defense is horrible in that game for the most part, right? Literally backdash require resources among the backdashes suck. Yet the audience they love that, they love watching that game. Obviously, when you play that game, especially in certain pre-patch version, you were miserable. So, how do you balance all these aspects in which the game is fun for a multitude of players, while it's also fun to watch? I don't think you can check all the boxes, my friend. I just don't think it works.
Okay, but the problem
you-
here, Dave, is that when the discussion to everything is you can't do it, it won't work, move on. There's no discussion to be had here. If you're telling me it cannot be done, no matter what they do, then what are we talking about here?
Okay, give me your ideal fighting game. Then where I'm happy, Tom is happy,
No,
you're
it's
happy.
not my ideal
and-
fighting game, but I don't want to go back and forth with you when you don't want to have a conversation or you don't care to have one. It's just kind of weird and
Well, if I
awkward.
didn't want to have a conversation, I wouldn't be
You're
on the
telling me
podcast.
fighting
That'd-
can't grow, they're bad, they need to stay small. Okay, well, if that's how you feel, then I'm not. Should I just stay here and like try to change your opinion when you don't feel like you want to engage in a conversation?
Well, I've been engaging in a conversation. I'm just based on everything
Right, you're
that I've
telling
heard.
me it can't be done, it won't be done. People need to move on, play something else. That is not really a engaging conversation.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna end it here. I think I've been streaming for like 2 hours now, so I'm gonna take a quick break, and then I'm probably gonna have to split this into like 2 parts because like this gone on a little bit longer than I thought it was. Like they're only about a little over an hour into it. They still got like 30-40 minutes or so. You know what? Let's go ahead. Let's just end it. I'm gonna have to chop this video up though, because like like most people are probably checked out. Because nobody's gonna sit there and watch a 3-hour
Well, you
stream.
can't have a game that has great zoning, great offense, great 50-50 mix-ups. It's also balanced. It just has not been done. Can it be done? I don't know. You tell me. Show me. What are your examples of that? Like, show me a game that pleases gameplay-wise as many people as possible. Maybe you say Melee, but most
I
like
would say Mortal Kombat 11.
Tekken, Street Fighter, and Mortal Kombat, they never play Melee. They don't care about the game. I don't care about Melee. Like, it just doesn't interest me. I don't like.
I would say Mortal Kombat 11 is a game that appeases a lot of people. It's the reason it's as popular as it is and it sold as well as it did. Because like even if you don't play like online the versus mode or whatever, you can still play like the Towers of Time. And the Towers of Times adds a variety of stuff. So you can add like the cameos, you can do the tag based joints. So yeah, and then if you don't want to do any of that, you can always play the crypt. So yeah, I think Mortal Kombat 11.
Well, mainly I think actually probably would appeal to my gameplay style. I just don't like the visuals. But Third Strike, no, I don't like it. I think Fireballs are weak. Why would I play a game like that? Could I play it and have fun? I'm sure I could, but like there are better options. So I'm gonna play the fighting games that cater to my strengths and preferences. Like how does that shut down the conversation? Like I'm telling you the truth. I'm not lying to you. I'm being honest.
Well, shouldn't on the
And if
conversation
somebody
because you're
asks,
saying
if
you're
somebody
saying
asked me, Dave, should I play I'm a zoning player. Should I play Super Turbo or Third Strike? I'm like, of course you play Super Turbo. Why would you waste your time in Third Strike? Like, it just that's just the fact.
okay. Well, I mean, is there any other topic you want to talk about?
They're running out of
I
topics
do
to talk
wanna
about.
maybe, if you would like to touch upon, which is unrelated to 2XKO, if you wanna uh, maybe address like the wake up buttons in Mortal Kombat 11 and Mortal Kombat 1 and how you would fix that
Okay, I
in,
got
in a
some
future
opinions on
game.
this. I got some opinions.
Sure, we can talk about that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so the way I would fix wake up buttons MK11 and MK1 is to remove delay wake up. That way, whenever your opponent has to do something to get off the
Ooh, I
ground, they
wouldn't
would
do
have
that.
to use meter. Which means in situations where you knock them down when they don't have meter, you would actually have 100% consistent meaties you could always go for without having to worry about it ever, which is a thing that has not been around in forever. There's a lot of times you'll knock people down in MK11 or MK1, and because of delay wake up, which they have access to 24/7, 365 at all times, whenever they want, even when they don't have any resource, don't have any meter, they used everything, and you knock them down, they still have the option to mix you up and kind of trick you for what you're going for and mitigate what you could be doing to them by limiting the offense. And I know in MK1 you could do a knockdown into a string, but here's the problem. I'm knocking down with Omni-Man, I do forward 4-1 or back 1-2. These are true middies that cover short and long. Why wouldn't you just long delay and block it and then take your turn after? Like, it just mitigates so much. If you remove the delay wake ups and you don't have resource,
You still live? Yeah, I'm still live. I'm still live, Collapse. I'm still here. I was about to end the stream, but like this podcast is almost over. It got like another 30 minutes or so. So I'm just gonna go ahead and rock out with it. I was gonna split it into 2 parts, but I'm gonna just go ahead and rock out with it. I don't agree with him. He's saying something about get rid of delayed wake ups. I don't agree with that. Most fighting games have some sort of difference in wake ups. For example, like Street Fighter, like you can get up faster in Street Fighter, like if you press buttons, or if you don't press buttons, you kind of get up slower. You also have that with like, I want to say Tekken as well. If you get knocked down in Tekken, you lay on your back for a while. Virtual Fighter, I think, has that. Like this, most fighting games have more than one timing in which people get up. Same thing with like some of the other versus type fighting games or arena type fighting games like Naruto. Like, yes, sometimes there are just hard knockdowns and you just get up at a certain time. But then there's other times where you can hit the floor and then get right back up if you're like pressing a certain button. Same thing in like versus fighting games and stuff like that, like where you're getting comboed in the air and then you can kind of like flip out of it and stuff like that. So like I don't agree that the delayed wake up should go away. But what up, Fat Cats? Collapse, what you been up to, man? You at work?
And it feels rewarding to knock you down because now you have to guess. Am I going to go for a meaty throw, meaty mid, kind of a mix-up, stagger? So like you don't really know what I'm going for, and it rewards me because you don't have to. I don't have to guess what you're going to do. You have to guess more so on what I'm going to do. So for the next Mortal Kombat game, I would love for them to get rid of delay wake up.
What about the unintended consequences? You know, like the unintended blowback that it could make certain offensive situation even better than they already are. I'm not suggesting that obviously you want like hard to blockables in the next game, but just for the sake of the argument, in Mortal Kombat 1, right? You saw like what
Work
Rain
and
players
wake
are
up
doing.
should have
They
a
already
meter.
shut down.
Well, he
your
did kind of
wake up
mention
button.
that wake up should
But
have some sort of
now,
meter,
if you could only wake up at one point and put the puddle on the, and try to time it with their overhead,
which
that's what I'm worried about.
which at least in Mortal Kombat 11 it does have a meter. So like you do have the option of delayed wake up, which that does not take meter. So I guess if you want to side with him, he's like, yeah, if you're gonna do a delayed wake up, it should take some meter. I guess I'm okay with that as well. But in Mortal Kombat 11, you do have like your delayed wake up that doesn't take any meter. But in Mortal Kombat 11, you also have a bunch of other stuff that does take meter. So like a forward roll, a back roll on wake up, a wake up armored move, as well as a wake up anti-air move, and all of that does take meter.
It would just make the game more offensive than it otherwise would have been with a delayed wake up.
Well, MK1 as a game is already flawed in that regard. You can't really do that. I'm talking about more for the next Mortal Kombat game.
Yeah. I think
the problem with MK1 is the offense is very one-dimensional and easy to do. So in a way of making it there be a consistent form of knockdown game, it would be so these characters could enforce their very easy mix-ups, like you said, and loop them, because the offense is not as creative as it could be. But for next MK game, they could make the offense actually creative, so you don't just do hard blockable loops over and over, and that's basically the entire game's offense.
Well, I don't think it has to be. I think hard to block are an extreme example on my part. It can be anything, right?
But when the setup is you just hit your opponent with any combo, any whatever, go into a launcher and do it, that's a little too easy.
I mean, that's how most fighting games work that do not have a delayed wake up. Essentially, people will find setups in which you're always mixing the other guy up, right?
Well, other fighting games tend to have like a hard knockdown type situation.
The more effective the mix-up will be. Just a quick example: Super Turbo, right? Doesn't have delayed wake up. Some of the best characters in that game are characters who can just loop you or knock down. The most extreme example, you guys have seen this, right? It's the Claw Vortex, right? Who can just like jump off, from a wall, do this.
He's talking about Vega.
And just
He's talking about Vega.
Or I don't know, the boxer having specific setups and throw looping you, or even the command throw characters who are, by the way, not scrubby, because they there's no like short input for an SBD. So I don't mind stuff like that. I just think, again, it's one of those things, like if you remove that aspect, then it's kind of leads into certain gameplay styles being a lot better, which again, I don't mind. I'm just telling you, you kind of have to pick and choose here. It's not, I don't think it's a straightforward solution.
Okay, so what is your question exactly? So I got.
Well, it's not really a question. I think
Street Fighter, but what was the initial question again?
I think I think it's not a question. I think it's the point that you have to come to a realization that just removing that one option makes offense stronger. No, it doesn't have to be hard to blockables. It can be any offensive strategy.
Right.
I think
if you remove, I'm not saying remove hard to blockables. I'm saying you need to make them take more skill to do. Hitting your opponent with a 7-frame jab in MK1 and going into it is not very impressive to do. Like, you're going to be doing that most of the game anyway. What they should be doing for the next MK game, you need to have different setups for every different hit you get. It should not be, I hit you with any move, any jump in, any mid, any string, any punish, I go into my hard to block wall. That is just, what are you doing? At that point, it's way too easy. You should have specific moves that go into hard to blockables, specific conversions you do into this, that give you different setups. Everything should be way more in depth, rather than I hit you once, doesn't matter if I hit you with my jab string, my mid string, my pressure, my jump in, my throw, whatever, I get a hard to block wall. That's just, at that point, that means there's a problem. Something with the offense is just too watered down, that in MK1's case, just have delay wake up, because it mitigates that without having to actually solve the problem of introducing a very in-depth offensive system. So just keep delay wake up, which is easy to do, and keep the brain dead offense. So that way they both, cause a sense of, fighting back and forth, where you have scrubby defense and scrubby offense.
I wouldn't put it in those terms. I don't think anything.
Well, by scrubby, I mean easy to do. Like, delay waking up is not hard to do. You just tap L2, and you mix it up. Mix it every time.
I understand that. My solution would be, I re-downloaded MKX on PS5, and I was going through the frame data, and almost all of the moves seem to have more active frames, which, if somebody's doing a delay wake up, then they're gonna get clipped by the if not the first hit, then the second hit, or just the way that the moves just stay out longer, essentially, right? Delay wake up was less of an issue, but obviously that comes at a cost of, now it's like whatever, like essentially doesn't mean anything. Delay wake up, who gives a fuck about it? Like, I play Tremor, I'm gonna put an up rock if you delay wake up, and I'm gonna do that anyway. So I just think it's kind of like a double-edged sword sometimes. I don't mind removing it or it costing resources like you're suggesting, but I think those decisions have to be made very carefully based on how strong the offense in the game is. Because if the offense is very, very strong and you remove the late wake up, you're gonna or if you make it cost resources, you're looking into a heavily vortex based game.
Yeah, I could agree with Dave
especially
on that one.
nowadays, you can see a lot of games,
I
right?
could agree with M2 Dave on that
The
one.
problem is if you give all these characters a lot of active frames, like they have in MKX, it makes playing footies and MKX and neutral very annoying. Like
Yeah,
I
exactly.
played some
But I mean,
MKX today, and it was very hard to whiff punish certain stuff because they would do strange normals, and I would get clipped and hit sometimes because it's like, wow, that hit me. It almost makes it so the meta is like, okay, let me not play footies. Let me just block something unsafe.
Like I agree with what Dave was saying. It really does depend on the game. Like for example, Mortal Kombat 11 is a very defensive game, and not only that, there's so many wake up options in MK11 that they can theoretically get rid of the delayed wake up. I would still say no to the delayed wake up, getting rid of it. And in fact, if they were going to implement the delayed wake up in MK11, have it tied to the breakaway. So when somebody breaks away, it forces a delayed wake up every time. And maybe not have the delayed wake up when on every knockdown, because like MK11 has a lot of wake up options. You have a forward roll, you have a back roll, you have an armored up 3, you have an armored up 2, you have a wake up fatal blow option. So yeah, and then you also have the delayed wake up option. So I think it does depend on the game. Like the game is already, Mortal Kombat 11 is already very defensive, which if I'm recalling correctly, Mortal Kombat 1 MK1 doesn't have all of those defensive options on wake up, so having a delayed wake up is a lot better. So
I don't think a lot better zoning, but slightly better zoning. You're like, well, the game can already get kind of turtling. It's like, yeah, I know that, and of course that would make it even better, right? But I'm obviously advocating. I am advocating for gameplay style that favors the way I want to play, which is why I keep saying I know you think it's a boring answer, but that's what reality is. I'm sorry, facts, match reality. But yeah, I'm advocating stuff that would favor me, and you advocating stuff that would favor you as a player, and people advocating stuff that would favor them as
hey,
a
what you
player.
been playing lately,
That's just how it
Collapse?
works. So by adding
Like I wanted to
something,
play some
you
Battlefield
make
last
something
night,
else
but
worse.
you never got
make
back
something
to
else
me.
better. That's just the way it works. Like you
Wait,
just
but are
perfectly
you
said.
talking about MK1 getting changed or the next MK game? Because I'm confused
Not
here.
necessarily. Like, well, you said it perfectly. Like if you any game, it doesn't matter. Like if you give more active frames for the sake of dealing with delay wake up, well, that is going to interfere with footsies. That's right. That's perfectly legitimate, right? If in a turtling game, though, and not necessarily not turtling, but in a game that kind of has a turtling aspect to it. Of course, if you make fireballs better, it's going to become even more turtling, right? That's just those things are unavoidable. In a game that's might be offensive, if you go to the delay wake up, well, it's going to become even more offensive. Like that's just reality. You cannot escape that. So every decision that you make has consequences, and sometimes those consequences are unintentional. And I think
But
with
it
the
really
wake up,
depends how the game is designed though. Like MKDA, you get knocked down in that game, you have to keep guessing. There's no let me delay, let me do this. You can tech away and stuff on some knockdowns, but for the most part you just have to guess. That doesn't make the game feel bad or terrible, because in that game it makes sense. You get knocked down, you earned your hit in neutral, you get offense. Imagine that game had a delay system like MK and MK11. It would be awful. Because then you're stuck playing footsies, you finally get a hit, and then you can't do anything off it because you have to guess. So it's like, well, let me just wait because they may delay me do this. It would be like 100 times worse to play.
well, no, I agree. I mean, I played a game like that. It was called Mortal Kombat 11. So essentially, the offense is not good in that game to warrant, I don't know,
All the
10
defensive
things people were
options.
doing
But
to
see,
Yeah.
that's
wake
not
up
true though, because
stuff.
when MK11 launched, you're forgetting a lot of characters had absurd offense in the beginning of the game. That's why the delay system was like that.
No, fair enough. But even with a system like that, it's always going to favor the zoning character, right? Because, um, if you get knocked down in neutral, and somebody finally gets in on that Setrion or that pre-patch Cage on that pre-patch Geras, they're not going to have that enough of a reward. So essentially, it's a system that's a failure on release. You
Wait,
cannot have a
that's why
system.
if you get rid of the delay wake up, you force Cetron, who has terrible wake ups, to do wake up roll or hold the mix up. And the
Oh,
good
yeah,
thing is
and
when you read her doing a wake up, she dies. Whereas in MK1, if you read someone delay waking up, they don't die. They just get to hunt doing something and then being like, now that you did this, I'm just gonna get up, take my turn.
I
That's
don't
why
think
you need to. That needs to be removed meterless. If you wanted to like wake up, then okay, you can make it cost a bar.
Mhm.
I'd be fine with that. But
And
the
that's
whole
exactly
getting
what
knocked
you
out
said,
and I
Collapse,
caught you with
too.
your pants down,
It should cause like some sort of
nothing,
meter.
no resource, no cameo, no meter, but you still can do the best wake up in the game. That to me is a little crazy.
And you always have the
delay
option
wake-up
for
is
the
as good
fatal
as you believe
blow
in Mortal
wake up
Kombat
too.
1. I think in
I
Mortal
swear, even
Kombat
though it's
11,
like
you're right,
6
it's very,
frames
very
before the
strong,
armor takes
but that's because
into effect,
Mortal
like
Kombat
I
1's
almost never get it within
damage
that 6
output
frames.
as well as mix-ups are significantly stronger than MK11. So the overall power levels in Mortal Kombat 1 are a lot higher. So yeah, you can delay wake up, but as you saw from tournaments, it does affect certain characters, but certain others they just don't care. You saw Rain, like why does he care? Like that thing is almost irrelevant. Even some of the characters that I'm using Havoc. I'm gonna throw grenades. You can delay wake up all you want. I don't give a fuck. Like is it gonna catch me sometimes? Yeah, probably. But like, say with Kung Lao, I'm gonna throw. I'm gonna toss. Well, not toss. I'm gonna call my missile, and I'm gonna mash on your wake up. And if you delay, good. If you try to do wake up buttons, you may eat 45. Good. To me, those things are irrelevant. However, like when I play Melina, then yes, you're 100% right. It's a much more of an issue. Just the way she works. She's because of her, just the way her frame data and her strings work, she's more susceptible to, delay wake up and wake up buttons, and even honestly wake up fatal blows. So I think of it as certain characters are affected, others are not. It just depends.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not really a Melina thing. It's more so. I know exactly why you think delay wake up isn't that good in MK1. It's because you play Sector. I was playing Sector today, and you can knock people down, do a missile, come in, do whatever you want, and they have to block the missile. So that's
Correct,
why.
yeah.
But if you play any character without that, aside from the few exceptions like Rain, like if you play Kung Lao without Sector, you're going to be having to deal with the wake up game and wake up buttons. So that's how it is. If you don't have a move that you can throw out that covers me getting up, like a Sark's Bomb or a Rain Whirlpool or whatever, like a Devore Bug from MK11, then you have to deal with, am I going to get up, do this, that? Because you can't do everything at the same time. If you're going to try to throw me, there's risk. Try to do a string to me by holding up, there's risk. And if you do a down one, I don't care. So that's where the problem comes in that.
But most of the better cameos in the game are those characters who ignore the wake up system,
Right,
like-
but that's why I'm very confused on this conversation, because I thought you wanted to ask, like, what do we undo for the next MK game? I'm not saying they should remove anything from the game. They can keep MK1 how it is. It could stay exactly how it is, never get patched, since people like it. They can stay like that. I'm talking about for the next MK game. And also, I don't want to say this to ruin, like, the conversation, but people are tired of us talking about MK11 every episode, man. Like,
No, we're
I'm
not.
saying this
Keep
for the
talking about
conversation, but
MK11.
in the comments, people do not. I think they're tired of us talking about MK11 every episode, man.
Keep talking
They wanna hear
about
us
it,
talk
man.
about
I
other
think
topics.
I think I mentioned MK11 maybe like once or twice. Most
No,
of the
I
conversation.
understand, but we were just talking like 15 minutes about MK11 right now, and I don't want this to come
Let's
another episode
go.
where it's like a portion of it's about MK11 again, because people are just kind of, they already know our stance on the game, and every time we talk about the game, it's literally the same thing over and over and over with wake ups and whatever.
I mean, some individuals in our audience are huge hypocrites because if I mention Tekken, don't talk about Tekken. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna mention Tekken anymore. Then I'm like, okay, can I talk about NRS games? Okay,
Okay.
like what do people want? Like
Well, I'll tell you
I
what they
can either-
want, because they were telling us what they wanted in the last episode, actually. In the comments, if you read them, they like to hear us talk about whatever the current MK game is, but not repeatedly. Like, we talked every week MK1 about up block being dumb. Eventually, people are going to be like, okay, this is getting dumb. We already know.
Yeah,
you
they
guys don't
talked
like
about
up
that
block
like
or-
3 episodes in a row.
we haven't done
Right,
on this
well,
podcast.
have you noticed I stopped talking about that? Because now I'm starting to factor in what the audience wants to see instead of what I want to talk about 24/7. So because of that, I've been venturing away to try to make every episode feel interesting instead of, hey guys, welcome to the 50th MK1 episode. Guess what I'm going to say today? I'm going to complain about up block again, fatal blows. Nobody's trying to listen to the same episode over and over. So to respect their time, I'm trying to keep the conversation interesting, but also they told us exactly what they want to hear us talk about. They want us to talk about interesting stuff every week regarding an MK game. It could be something new every week. And they want to hear us talk about the current, whatever the hot topic is in their current FGC. Like right now it's 2XKO, so we were talking about that's good.
Yeah.
So we have, that's what we can do going forward. We can talk about what have the most potential to be a good wake up system. Every character
Well,
should
this
have
is
their
what
unique wake ups, and I don't like seeing lazy wake ups. I don't understand Street
Okay.
Fighter games do this, but
Yeah. Street
If you
Fighter
have a
has like
special
their
move-
unique wake ups.
and you're like, okay, what's this character's wake up system? Oh, it's doing that same special move we have already, but as a wake up this time. That's a little lazy. I like it, and Melee does this too. In Melee, you have unique wake ups per character. They have different get ups. The moves you do in standing and neutral are not your wake ups. Like, for example, if you can do Sub-Zero slide in neutral or footsies as your move, that's not your wake up attack. That's the move you have access to when you're on your feet on the ground. But when you're knocked down, you would have access to other unique moves that only you can do from knockdown.
I
If they
see.
do that for the next MK game, then every character would have their unique wake up and you could bounce them around. For example, whoever the zoners that you're talking about could have the worst wake ups, the worst options on the ground. Whereas other characters who aren't zoners, like, I don't know, let's take a Grundy for a random example, he would have some of the better wake ups or other wake up options. Like, that's how you do it. So they should bring back the MK11 system, but not the way it worked MK11, but expand on it. Give every character their unique wake up.
Yeah, because MK11 had that. Like, if you up armored 3 or you woke up 2 or whatever, it was different attacks that each character did. But for the most part, it was kind of all the same thing. Now, there was different ranges and stuff like that. Like, for example, Scorpion has a good range on his wake up armor 3, whereas you might have somebody like Katana whose wake up armor 3 was trash.
I think just pressing
So
up 3 is way too universal for me, or up 2. I don't
Well,
like
see,
stuff
this
like
is the
that.
thing. I don't like universal inputs. Like, I don't like how everybody meter burns the same or everybody does fatal
Yeah.
blow the same. That should not be a thing. Next MK game, I want to see everybody's X-ray be a unique input. Everybody's
there,
wake up
I
attack.
can tell you right now, MK REO, they're not gonna do that. Like, it's gonna be the same input. It's gonna make it easy because they also need to appeal to the more casual market, and the more casual people are not going to want to invest in the time to learn for each character. If they pick a different character, there's certain things that they're going to want. So, like, a wake up with each character is gonna need to be the same, as well as like the fatal blow for each character needs to be the same. So, like, I know that's kind of wishful thinking. That's not gonna happen. That's something more hardcore audience would appeal to, but the casual audience isn't gonna like that, and NetherRealm's gonna appeal to the casual audience.
Flawless block, fatal blows.
I do like the flawless block, like the
jump,
flawless block up 2s and
buttons,
flawless
right?
block
I know
up
you
3s.
could
I like
get rid of
those.
that if you got rid of the delay wake up entirely, or if it cost resources. And maybe you 100% right. The game would have been more enjoyable for a lot more people. I don't know. It's impossible to say because we never saw that. And who knows? Maybe NRS tested it and they were like, you know what? This doesn't actually work out. So it's very difficult to imagine such a system when none of us ever tried it. And by the way, it's the same true for you, Ari, with Mortal Kombat 1, right? And it's delayed wake up. If you got rid of it, would the game be better? I don't know. In my opinion, probably not. But who knows?
Yeah, I don't think it would be better either.
Yeah, in terms of like characters, I feel like going in the future, they need to design every character to play as different as possible. That would make MK more exciting. Because one of my viewers today, Surat, mentioned, and he made a good point. MK was never really about archetypes. It's not an archetype game. They just make things, and whatever we play and start using and realize it's good, we deem it as an archetype all of a sudden. Like, for example, any character could have a projectile. It could be Kano,
having people's wake ups and stuff like that completely different. I mean, that's not the worst option. I think Street Fighter does it, but I can tell you right now, NetherRealm's not going to do that because Mortal Kombat's a far more casual game than Street Fighter is.
To be, like characters with archetypes. And when he mentioned that, I was like, you know what? That's actually true. Other games like Street Fighter or whatever, characters are designed to play differently by intention. But in MK games, it just kind of falls on whatever the cards roll and how they play. Oh, this character has better 50-50 mix-ups? We're going to call them a rushdown archetype. This character has command grabs? Well, we're going to call them a command grab archetype. But I feel like NRS just kind of does stuff, and then the community kind of puts the pieces together and label them what they are. But a lot of times it's what their frames are. Like, for example, we saw Johnny go from being a power zoner to all of a sudden not being a zoner because they just tweaked the frame rate on some moves. So for next MK game, it'd be interesting if they actually try to design archetypes similar to like Injustice did, where they try to make characters feel unique, different, and have their own stuff. That would make MK more interesting instead of having everybody have generic strings, uppercuts, sweeps, whatever, and then whatever frame data they have that benefits whatever style is what we start lumping them as an archetype.
I think that's a silly argument because how players decide to play the character, that is the ideal way to play the character. Like what you see in a tournament, it's not because some guy decided, oh, let me just freestyle. No, that's the best way to play. Like Freddy, no question, ladies and gentlemen, I should have used the 50-50s more, but like by design, Freddy in MK9, there was no doubt like he was a zoning character, just the way he played. And that was the ideal way to play him. That's why I got top 8. And
Yeah, I mean that's similar to like RoboCop and MK11. RoboCop is a zoner. He barely has any combos, nor does he really have too many 50-50s. Now he does have a command grab, which just adds to his kit, but like you're not gonna mistake RoboCop for anything other than a zoner. Just like you're not really gonna mistake Terminator in MK11 for anything else other than like a grappler.
Neutral force with armor, with push, anti-airs, pushing you back. Not doing certain combos, cutting them short to push you back and force you to come in. That was the ideal way to play the character. That is the design. I don't give a crap what the developer.
But at the same time, like MK REO also has a point too. Like for example, in MK11, you do have people that are zoners that don't necessarily have to play like zoners. For example, Frost. Frost, I think, is a jack of all trade characters, but her character design, I believe, was meant to be a zoner. Like she has like a lot of zoning moves, dude. Like so much zoning moves. So I think Frost deep down was supposed to be a zoner, but most people don't really play her as a zoner because her zoning isn't really that good. It's okay. It's okay.
He has a teleport to get away from you. He has a stance. He has this and that. So the way it ended up being was just, you know, he happened to be a zoner. Because when you think about it, why would they give a character like that that's supposed to be a zoner, like by his archetype, the best 50-50 launchers in the game that are unfuzzyable and they lead to a bunch of damage?
Yeah, Rio got a point on that. Rio has a point on that.
Like argument, like he's not really a zoning character. Wouldn't have that. It kind of doesn't make sense.
And that's how I feel about Frost. Like Frost is meant to be a zoning character, but she's one of the better neutral base characters. Like she wants to fight you at a certain range, and that range is not full screen, nor is it like up close and personal. It's like that mid-screen situation. But if you're a zoner, then like you should be able to zone from long range as well, which Frost can do, but her long range zoning is not that great. She needs to be within a certain range of you for her zoning to be really effective. Because for example, the Auga doesn't go full screen. The burrowing Auga doesn't really go full screen either. You have the little micro burst joints, and those can go full screen, but they're more effective at more of a mid-range type situation. You have her projectiles. So yeah, she has a lot of zoning options, but none of them are really great from long range. Because like even her projectiles joint that she shoots out, where she can enhance and shoot a bunch out of her stomach or whatever, like it's pretty slow. So if you do it from long range, like people are going to be able to react to it with no problem.
Yeah, we have talked about this topic before. There are no like pure archetypes.
Right, and what I'm saying is that's what Surat said earlier. He said MK games aren't designed with archetypes. Whatever sticks.
Yeah, Rio does have a
board
point
is
there.
what we label them as, but they're not intentionally designed to be like that. Like I don't think they intended Cabal's offense to be that good in MK9. From what I was told, is they wanted Cabal to have a dash cancel to cancel it while using it from far, but then they never put two and two together. What if people started using off strings up close? That was like, you know, they didn't think that.
Which
far.
he has
So
that
all
in
of a sudden,
MK11 as well. Cabal has a dash cancel.
Dash cancel, but then in your face is a rush on monster, and on top of that, he's zoning.
Same thing with.
It's kind of all over the place.
Yeah. Cabal's a really good zoner in MK11, and I want to say it's the same thing with Aaron Black. Aaron Black's a decent zoner from far away, but he also has like dash cancels as well too that he can do up close and personal.
Like zoning character in terms of Serena, I guess comes to mind. Make her be a projectile spammy character, but the way she would work would be different and unique, so it wouldn't be as brain dead as Deadshot. Like if they make Serena's throwing knives do 2%, you could spam them, they're very fast, but they lose to all other projectiles like Reiko Stars do. That's a way to do it. So you can't really win off using them, but they're a huge part of her game plan. You like spam projectiles, you can play Serena.
I mean, I would say like Scarlet on MK11 is similar to like what a Serena would be. Like Scarlet is a zoning character for the most part, a zoning character in MK11, and she has a variety of zoning stuff, like a wide variety of zoning moves too. So, yeah, I guess that's the character he's kind of looking forward to.
With that logic, it's difficult to analyze a game like Mortal Kombat 9 in order to determine what's intentional or what's not, right? Because it's a game that has so many glitches and bugs. Like,
yeah, but that's exactly what I mean. We don't know what character I don't know. You look at a character like Jade. What even was her archetype? In the beginning of the game, it looked like she was a footsie powerhouse character, but then they nerfed it, so it's like, correct. I guess she wasn't supposed to be a footsie character.
Well, in MK11, she's definitely a zoning character.
Random designs, and then Whatever they
Well,
end up
that's why
being good at, we call them as an archetype. But was that the developers' initial intention, or did they just give them?
She's
some
not only
fancy
just a
stuff and
zoning
then
character,
let them
she's
work
an
on how it is?
anti-zoning character
Well,
as
in
well
this case,
too.
that's why I don't like to go by their intentions. I don't care what their intentions were. I'm just judging what the intentions were by watching the best of the best.
Yeah, you're
play the
saying
characters.
this. We're labeling characters by what they do. Like for example, in UMK3, are the intention of Cabal to be a power zone, or probably not, right? When they designed him back then, but we kind of call him that because that's what he does in the game. But the problem is the reason why the archetypes feel a little shallow in MK games is because that reason, what Surat said. These characters aren't designed with true archetypes intention. They're just artists make moves for them. Whoever's balancing the characters tweaks the frame data, and whatever they have good, we call them an archetype. But that's not really how you design an archetype character. That's just how the cards fall.
I think one of the best things about Mortal Kombat 9 are the archetypes. The problem is that with archetypes that diverse, you guys already know what the issue is going to be, right? You can't have a game based on every evidence we have seen throughout fighting game history. Like you can't have a game that diverse and then have something resembling balance. And I know people say, "Well, I don't care about balance. I just want to do what I do," and that's fine, right? But like we know that there's an oversaturation of fighting games in the sense of social media, and when people see too much of something, like Maximilian documented earlier, like people are just gonna get bored. Do you want to watch a grappler, constantly, throwing you and doing whatever, a vortex possibly, or a zone?
I mean, watching two zoning characters
keeping you
zone
out
is
with-
annoying.
It doesn't.
Well, see,
Not
but
necessarily-
It's
the thing is,
boring
Max
to
says,
watch.
He brings up a good point. You don't want the game to feel repetitive or the character to feel repetitive. Like, for example, imagine there was a character, all he has to do is come in and grab you once. He grabs you. Now, guess what he does after? Now you have to guess another grab or not. Or grab you again? Now you have to guess another. It's like, bro, at that point, it's like you're watching the same episode on TV air for the 20th time. We had a character that did that. Remember from Armageddon, Meat? What was his whole game plan? Walk up to you, do this one unblockable command grab, throws you, knock down, you're gonna get an infinite by it, or they would do the rule where they wait a second for doing it again, but we all knew it was probably an infinite again, and you just watch it. It's like, that's not exciting gameplay to see. The same thing like when you watch a character, like, I don't know, back roll, hit you once, and then come in, restand you, overhead low, hit you, okay, big combo, restand you, overhead low, big combo, hit you. Like, you gotta make characters feel interesting to play against, and also interesting to see, where they're not just doing one thing over and over and over.
But that's literally impossible to do in a game with too many characters. And let me give you guys the example. What do all competitive players want? They want control. Why has Sonic Fox won for so long? Well, essentially, Sonic Fox puts you in a vortex, and then you just guess
he
and
does.
die usually, right?
Yeah, he sets up.
The other
He
side,
sets up setups too.
of the spectrum, you had a player like Theo in Injustice. What did he do? He controlled the neutral to the extent you essentially couldn't do anything, and you were just stuck. It wasn't a vortex. It wasn't necessarily even zoning, right? It was with Aquaman. So fighting game players, the reason a lot of them are complaining right now is because there's less of that. They want that. By the way, that's me as well, right? I want to put you at a range where you cannot do anything, and that's how I win. Once you remove that, the game is not as fun for me. And again, it goes back into the old argument: is the game fun? Why should I play this game if I cannot do that? I think Rio, you have good intentions. The thing you're advocating for doesn't exist. Like, it has never been done before. But it doesn't mean you should stop talking about it. I'm just telling you, like, every time you get rid of something, you cause another issue. If you change something, you cause
That is
this
true.
issue.
That
it's
is
kind of like
true.
a tier list, right? In which not everybody can be top tier. You can have a great balanced game, but at the end of the day, there will always be imbalances. There will always be diversity.
That is true too. Dave's spitting.
The consequence of a fighting game. That's what that's why we play or we do not.
Okay, but if you wanted there to be a very good power zoner where you spam projectiles, instead of having it be like Deadshot where you're doing one projectile over and over, or like Cabal from MK9 where you're just doing one projectile over and over, what if you had 15 different projectiles to choose from? They all do different things. Wouldn't that be, you have the same ability to zone people out, but now you have to make choices. It'd be more interesting to watch too. If they take that route, it'd be a lot better than being like, this is a zoner. Oh, why is he a zoner? You just smashed Spirit Charge with Kenshi and MK9 over and over and over and over, and people can't really get in. Oh, okay. What's this character do? Oh, that character is Sonya from MKX. What does she do? down one them. I'm talking about pre-patch Sonya, by the way. Down one them, then military covered off, back one, back three. Do combo, knock down, come in, back one, back three, over and over. 50-50 loop, 24/7. That's kind of boring. You want characters to have more depth with them. You can have a 50-50 character and a zoning character or whatever character you want. Be good in that by having to do a lot of things in that aspect instead of it just being you just do one thing over and over and over to be that archetype.
Well, I think again, you're 100% right, but I don't know.
Again,
Look,
look. So I don't mean cut you off, but look at Grundy, another good example from NRS. They made a grappler character who, instead of doing the same command grab over and over, he has like 4 different command grabs to do that do different things, different anime, different buffs. That's how they should do it. You want to make a grappler that does nothing but grab people? Okay, well you can play this grappler, but guess what? He has 15 different command grabs that do 15 different things, and it's your job to learn when to use which one. This one's good in footsies, this one's good on knockdown, this one doesn't give advantage, but you can use it to punish. This one's a good like that's I think they should try to go that way in designing characters.
No, I agree, but I think the examples with that shot and to a lesser extent Deathstroke, they're overplayed because I don't know anybody in the FGC who's like, yeah, that shot, guys, bring that back. Like almost nobody's saying that. Like I think those examples are being put forward way too much when they represent essentially nobody. I was one of the first people to tell my friend playing to win, you know, this is gonna get nerfed. Please
I
don't play.
mentioned Cabal too. He just spams the
No,
same
yeah.
fireball over and over.
No,
I
yeah,
don't think that's very exciting to watch.
No, and I agree with you. It's not.
Even for Katana and MK, you're just air zoning over and over to build meter. It's like very boring to watch because you're doing
I
one
think
thing
we're
like.
analyzing this too many. Like some people, they don't want to deal with that at any point. Like whether it's Cabal or whether it's
That's
I don't
what
know.
I'm saying. So they gotta find a way if they want Cabal or Katana to be a good zoner, different ways to keep them a good zoner while it not being boring and dry.
It has nothing to do with boring and dry, even if it's exciting.
This stream's about to end. I probably should have ended this a lot sooner. They started, going into some details about some fighting games. They bring up a lot of good points, but I probably should have ended it a bit sooner. This was a long one. I'm glad you guys, checked it out with me. I appreciate y'all leaving comments, dropping likes and stuff like that. What do y'all think? I might have to go ahead and maybe split this one up a bit to make it more digestible for people who don't want to sit and watch a 3-hour stream. But yeah, what do y'all think, man? Leave it in the comments below. Did y'all enjoy that? Do y'all want more like that? Let me know in the comments below. I'll do more reactions and stuff like that. In the meantime, definitely like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff.
To them young boys in the hood with big dreams of being superstars. Don't let nobody tell you that you can't, but you gotta work super hard. To the older man who feels his life is over cause he wasted it standing on corners. One thing I learned about the streets, it's never too late for a come up. I was told before that I couldn't do it. I remember being told by my own peeps not to rap, and singing in my hood wasn't popular, but I got respect for it cause I was a beast. Facts. If you got a dream, you gotta stay committed, you can get it, but you gotta be a beast, you can't slack for a minute. Remember this, if you remember nothing else, you gotta be relentless.